Chapter 993. Big Beard was full of doubts. He didn't know if he had lost his memory or if he was seeing things. Yang Shi and Old Ma, the field manager, were sitting in the back row. When they got on the car, Qin Guang was already sitting in the driver's seat. The two of them didn't look at Qin Guang up close like Big Beard did, so they didn't know what was going on. Instead, they felt that Big Beard was a little embarrassed. When they arrived at the ward, Jiang Yage was already asleep on the accompanying bed, while Shilu was also sleeping with a glucose drip. The four of them didn't disturb their rest, but pulled the attending doctor on duty to inquire about them. Jiang Yage's physique was as tough as her nerves. She fainted from the cold during her menstrual period, and after she recovered, there was no abnormality. It seemed that the dance and fitness she had done in order to maintain her figure had not been in vain. Shilu, on the other hand, was a little weak after being shocked and suffering from a cold. She needed to rest for 2 days. She woke up once before. Her body is fine, but she seems to have suffered a lot of stimulation. Her mental state is a little unstable. The doctor also knew Deng Xiaojiang. Director Deng is really a responsible director. It's already early in the morning, but he still personally came to care about the patient's condition. Big Beard blushed from the praise. He thought to himself, how could I not come? One was Jiang Yage and the other was his old friend's niece. No matter who it was, they were not ordinary artists. He chuckled and nodded repeatedly. It's good that you're fine, that's good. The doctor continued, I really didn't expect a big star like Jiang Yage to be willing to accompany others in the hospital. No wonder my child is so infatuated with her. I used to think that celebrity artists were very arrogant. What a considerate and gentle girl. You flatter me. Qin Guang and the others chatted with the doctor for a while and then walked out of the door. At this time, Zhou Yun was helping Jiang Yage out of the ward. She scolded, My lady, how could you sleep in the hospital? If someone finds out, you'll be surrounded by the whole hospital tomorrow morning. The doctor beside Qin Guang and the others also scratched his head and said, Actually, I tried to persuade Miss Jiang to find another place to rest, but she said that you asked her to take good care of the patient, so she refused to leave. Jiang Yage looks up at Qin Guang in a daze. She feels refreshed. Qin Guang, you're here. Shh. Lower your voice. This is a hospital. Qin Guang quickly gestured to her. The group of people went to the big hotel where they stayed before coming here. Jiang Yage was so sleepy that she could not take it anymore, so she went back to her room to rest. Qin Guang, Zhou Yun, Big Beard Deng, Zhouya, Renchong, Zhao Yueling, and the other main cast members who arrived later, sat together for a simple meeting. Big Beard synthesizes Zhou Yun's opinion. In fact, he mainly wanted to find out Jiang Yage's attitude. After confirming that there were no problems, he was relieved. After a discussion, they decided to let the entire production crew rest at the hotel in the scenic area for a day. No one would go out for the time being. They would observe the situation and take it as a rest. They would decide if the production crew could return to work the day after tomorrow. Shilu might not be able to recover, but she was only a stunt double after all. Her absence would not affect the overall situation. Alright, this incident is over without any mishaps. If there's nothing else, from the day after tomorrow, let's finish all the scenes in one go. Big Beard forcefully raised his spirits and encouraged the others. The other main cast members were also energized. Qin Guang did not express any opinions throughout. Looking at Big Beard and the others who were in high spirits, he could not help but envy them. They did not know how many people had died in the mountains. The situation this time was special. Perhaps the entire Baishui County military and police who had been at the scene would be ordered to keep their mouths shut. The official explanation given to Big Beard was also very interesting. The hostage-taker, Bao En-song, found his conscience under persuasion and took the initiative to return the hostages intact. Tong Yuan Corporation's chairman, Bao Fa Kai, also took the initiative to explain the problem. Currently, they had entered the stage of investigating other cases. The hostage kidnapping incident was considered to have come to an end. The official explanation was very reasonable. Big Beard Deng could only believe it even if he did not want to. Naturally, this was what he told the others as well. As for the only 3 people in the production crew who knew about the incident, Qin Guang, Jiang Yage, and Shilu, they would not say anything. Therefore, it was precisely because they did not know anything that they were fearless. Qin Guang envied their fearlessness because they were ignorant. Of course, continuing to film was also his own idea, so he did not expose them. As the saying went, when the entire Baishui officialdom was uprooted the day after tomorrow, he would not have to worry about the Bao father and son having any loyal underlings outside. If one doesn't look out for oneself, heaven and earth will destroy them. To avenge the old master who had already met the king of hell, and the target of revenge was this country, this was simply a multiple-choice question. If they could not uproot the entire Baishuya corruption even with old master Jiang behind the scenes, then all Qingguang could say was, "I look down on you people in power too much." He did not have the time to worry about others. In fact, he did not have the ability to pray for the world. Although Liuli's words were useless, they were not unreasonable. Now that things had come to this, he had no other choice but to resign himself to fate. Instead of worrying about a disaster that had yet to happen but could not be stopped, he might as well eat and sleep as he should. When the world really fell, he would be able to find the problem and think of a way to solve it. Although his iron fist was invincible, he did not know where the enemy was at all. It was not like he could rush to the roof and roar at the sky, then punch through the air and kill all the potential mutant creatures in the world, right? Therefore what was done and life still had to go on. The show still had to be filmed and the money still had to be earned. The more disaster was imminent, the more he could not be in a mess. He should cherish the present and do what was in front of him. He should build a few more statues as soon as possible and think of ways to accumulate more faith points. Of course, it was not that Qingguang did not plan to do anything. He had thought of buying more houses in the villa area near the school. It did not matter if he was bluffing or forcing them. In short, he had to think of a way to bring his family to Wujing. Something really happened, he had to save his own people first. Also, he had to warn those who were on good terms with him one by one. If he could get all of them to come to his side, he should not let them go. Of course, he could not tell them in detail. Even if he did, others might not believe him. It was better to scare them. However, things like mutant creatures were hard to guard against. For example, if Lu Fei listened to his suggestion and arranged 100 bodyguards at home, but once the mutation started, dozens of crazy mutants would jump out of the bodyguards. Wouldn't that be harming her instead? Other than taking one step at a time, what else could he do? With these chaotic thoughts in his mind, Qingguang couldn't sleep tonight. He breathed in the air in the room, but his mind could not get rid of the feeling that what he breathed in was the power of the Holy Grail. Other than oxygen and carbon dioxide, there was also elemental power that was exchanging with his blood. He thought of a song by Wang Liham, "Change the World." If he was not tone-deaf, he would really want to close the door and sing a song. 4 hours later, the sky outside was just beginning to brighten, and the rumbling sound of cars could be heard from the street outside. Qingguang got up and stood in front of the window to look. A long line of cars was driving past on the street below. Old Master Zhang's methods came faster than he had imagined, and it was indeed like a thunderbolt. This day was destined to be an extraordinary day for the entire Baishuya County. Many people were still asleep when they were suddenly shackled by the military and police who barged in and took them to the cars. Among these people were the fat old Shen from the scenic area police station, Song Liangji from the county branch, and many others from different departments. There were also several other senior executives of the Tongyuan group and their relatives. Even some people who had more or less done business with the Tongyuan group over the years were not spared. Not only that, even some of the people in the city who had deep collusion with the Baishuya gang were detained at almost the same time. Some of them already had more solid evidence, and some were still in the process of collecting evidence. But since they had decided to make a move, of course they would rather arrest the wrong person than let them go. They would first arrest and interrogate them, and at the same time collect evidence. If they were proven innocent in the end, they would be released and restored to their positions. If they were found to be dirty, then their political career would be over, and based on the facts of their crimes, depending on the seriousness of the circumstances, they would have to spend how long in prison. In short, once there was a problem, they would be dealt with severely and would not be lenient. Many people had been unlucky because of this matter. Such a large-scale arrest had been rare in recent years. If they had to blame someone, they could only blame the people in Baishuya County. They felt that the sky was high and the emperor was far away. They had lost themselves in money and power, and were so bold that it was frightening. Of course, they were also unlucky enough. If they hadn't run into the hands of Qingguang and Jiang Yage, they wouldn't have been wiped out. It could only be said that Heaven's Net had a long way to go. They had been doing evil for decades and finally retribution had come. Some things were like this. Before the lid was lifted, no one knew how smelly it was underneath. But once the table is flipped, then every sin you have committed in the past will be slowly investigated by others and turned into a sharp blade of punishment that will slice off your flesh piece by piece. People who had done all kinds of evil always had fear in their hearts. If they were lucky, they might be able to live a peaceful life. After death, everything would be for naught, and it wouldn't matter even if their graves were dug up. The unlucky ones were probably the same as the Bao father and son and the people in Baishuya County. What awaited them was a thunderous method and an unpredictable heavenly might that descended from the sky. They would not reason with you and would punish you whenever they wanted. Even the entire Kainan province was silent out of fear. At this time, whoever dared to stand up and plead for the people in Baishui at this juncture would be courting death. At 8:30 in the morning, Central TV Department 1's morning news was the first to broadcast the Baishui case, officially setting the case in stone. In the evening, the news broadcast listed a long and shocking list, and more detailed information was directly published on the websites of several major official mouthpieces in the country. Chapter 994. Big Beard Deng, who was reviewing the script with a few of the main cast members and browsing the web on his tablet from time to time, felt his eyelids twitching. Terrible, it's really terrible. It's really a one-pot kill. As he spoke, he secretly looked at Jiang Yage, whose face was blushing as she scribbled on the script. She was not listening to him at all. Big Beard thought of the countless military and police officers that had been scurrying around the entire Baishui County today, and he was also a little frightened. The power of heaven was vast and mighty, and the mortals suffered. This whole incident was really too thorough. There were about 50 to 60 people listed on the list, but in fact, there were at least 15 cars that had been captured outside the hotel and taken away. There were at least 10 people in each car. Qin Guang stretched and said indifferently, "This is karma. If people don't do bad things, they won't suffer the wrath of the heavens. Don't you think so, uncle?" Big Beard Deng pursed his lips and finally couldn't help saying, "That's the logic." He didn't continue. There were thousands of evil people in the world, but not everyone would provoke Jiang Yage and not everyone would be unlucky. However, he knew that although he had a high status in the entertainment industry, he was still a relatively high-level actor. This kind of inside and outside of the imperial city was not something he should care about, let alone comment on. He gathered his thoughts again and tilted his head to look at Jiang Yage. He looked up to see what she was scribbling on the script, and then he was shocked. "My missy. Don't add any more sex scenes. You wrote so much, I don't dare to do it. Don't get me into trouble." Jiang Yage's face turned even redder and she put the script in her arms. "I just wrote it for fun. I don't need you to peek at it." Big Beard felt a little stifled. The female lead changed the script and he, as the director, didn't let her see it. Why was he so bitter? Qin Guang snatched the script from Jiang Yage's arms and looked at it. Then his eyes widened. "Oh my God, your scale is too big. I don't even dare to read it out loud. I'm afraid that the ninth heaven Shen thunder will descend from the sky and strike us into ashes." "It's not as incredible as you make it sound." Jiang Yage refused to comply. Qin Guang said mysteriously, "You still don't believe in the matters of immortals? If you don't believe in God and Buddha, you will eventually suffer a great loss." Jiang Yage stared blankly at Qin Guang's face for a long time before saying, "I believe you." Qin Guang raised his hand and pointed to the sky. "That's right. These things happen when you believe in them. Although a gentleman doesn't talk about strange powers and gods, there are gods 3 feet above us." Jiang Yage stepped on his foot. "Speak properly. You've become so strange today." Qin Guang leaned back. "That's because I have something on my mind." If there weren't outsiders around, Jiang Yage really wanted to pinch his hand and comfort him not to care about what happened yesterday. The next morning, the crew set off from the hotel again to shoot the remaining 2 scenes at the Great Waterfall. When they got out of the car, everyone felt that the air had become especially fresh. Shilu didn't follow them. Instead, she rested in the hotel. She was a little unwilling to give up and tried to get into shape. However, the performance that she put on by forcing herself to put on couldn't be appreciated by others. In the end, she could only give up. Before they knew it, more than a month had passed in the blink of an eye. The entire crew traveled all over the country, flying up and down to 7 or 8 places in the country. They even made a trip to Europe. When Big Beard Deng finally announced that the exterior scenes were done, everyone let out a long sigh of relief. They were finally free. During this period of time, Qin Guang followed the crew up and down, but he didn't stay idle. He really took out 50 million yuan from the Qingguang Group's cash and bought 7 villas in one go in the newly developed villa district near the school. While he was handling the money, he thought of the 170 million yuan that he had lost. He thought that Lu Li had calmed down, so he hurriedly entered the cup world intending to ask her. However, before he could say anything, he was beaten up again. This time he tried to resist, but Lu Ming used leaves to tie him up like a dumpling and hung him in the air. He didn't get to ask anything and he was beaten up for nothing, which made him extremely angry. Qin Guang still didn't know that after he left the cup world, Lu Li and Lu Ming also heaved a long sigh of relief. Lu Li patted her chest. We finally got away with it. I was so nervous. Lu Ming also shook his fruit. Yeah, it was really dangerous. If he found out that the money was wasted, then Sister Lu Li, it would be really embarrassing for you. If Chen Guang knew that the two of them had actually calmed down a long time ago and were only afraid that he would ask about the money, he would probably vomit 3 liters of blood. However, his plan to get everyone over did not succeed in the end, and it had completely failed. He had been hit in the head by his father first. Chen Guoli's reason was simple and sufficient. He and Feng Rong's friends were all in Lilai County. It was difficult to find people to play mahjong in Wujing. Now that the dust pollution in the country was serious, the PM2.5 near Wujing often went up to 400. Although your mother is recovering very well now, she is still a person who has had a kidney transplant. If she breathes in too much dust, it will be too much pressure on the immune system. If the illness recurs, it will be terrible. Qin Guang said that I will put 2 air purifiers in a room, and Qin Guoli said that you want me and your mother to go to jail? Won't go out for the rest of my life? Well, in short, this matter was over. Even his parents couldn't pull him, let alone other relatives and friends. However, Qin Guang couldn't tell them what he was worried about. What could he say? The end of the world is coming. I met an elemental wolf that can spit fireballs and shoot ice needles? The people in this world are starting to mutate. Maybe the mosquitoes in the house will mutate. What he said was the truth, but Qin Guang felt that he might be ruthlessly sent to a mental hospital by his father. So in the end, Qin Guang's idea was completely ruined. Even his parents were like this, let alone other people. Fortunately, except for Zhuo Jingxi and Tang Ying, who were now in the United States, most of the people who were close to Qin Guang were gathered near Wujing, so the situation was not as bad as it seemed. As long as there was a car around, if something really happened, he would be able to rush over immediately. But if a stray dog or cat suddenly changed and was slashed by the neck, it would be futile even if Qin Guang brought everyone to the 5 capitals. After all, it was impossible for Qin Guang to watch over them 24/7. Just like Qin Guoli, although he didn't know what happened, he could hear Qin Guang's worry. However, he didn't take it seriously and comforted him. Don't scare yourself all day long. Even if you are really unlucky, don't some people choke to death when drinking water? As a person, you have to believe in fate. Qin Guang could only pinch his nose and accept it. In the past few days, although he relied on the acting skills of the world-class best actor to smoothly survive, he didn't have an easy time. During this time, the first thing he did after opening his eyes was to run to the window and look outside. Then he took out his phone and quickly read the news on the internet. Then he would run to find someone to chat with. In particular, he couldn't let go of any pets he saw in front of him. He talked about life with the hotel's gatekeeper, talked about ideals with the husky who went out early in the morning and was left by its owner, or compared reactions with the British shorthair who passed by with a beautiful girl who lived in the same hotel. He was about to tire himself out. If it weren't for the fact that he had experienced many storms and had a strong psychological endurance, he felt that he would have almost had a nervous breakdown. The purpose of doing these things was also very simple. He was afraid that when he woke up, the world would no longer be the same as it was before. Every time he got a definite answer, he felt as if he had survived a disaster and had another day of peace. In the eyes of those who didn't know, the sun would rise as usual every day. But in his eyes, maybe the sun would disappear one day and the moon would become 2. Who knew? Unfortunately, he couldn't tell anyone about this. He could only bear the pressure by himself. This situation exhausted a great deal of his energy, but it wasn't as if Qin Guang didn't accomplish anything in the past month. On Qin Guang Media's side, hi. My God. This new variety show had already started recording smoothly. Chu Zijin led the team and fumbled around. Fortunately, with the help of the mature team sent by Xiao Tsong, they smoothly recorded the first 4 episodes. The online copyright was directly given to Xiao Tsong's Bamboo platform. Seeing that he had given people away and supported the 30 million for publicity, they didn't take a single cent from the licensing fee. As for the licensing of the television station, after many investigations, they finally decided on Jiangnan Province's Department 1, which was relatively strong in variety shows among the provincial satellite TV stations in the country. It was also known as Jiangnan Satellite TV, which was jokingly called Chili TV. The broadcast time had also been set. It was set for the middle of next month. It would be broadcast once a week. It was prepared to take over the primetime slot on Friday night. However, the contract signed between the company and the television station was more complicated. It wasn't just a simple licensing broadcast. The relationship between the production company and the television station complemented each other. If the same program was broadcast on Chili TV, Mango TV, or Tomato TV, it would receive much more attention than on a weak provincial TV station like Dachuan Satellite TV. The amount of money paid by the title sponsor and the special advertising sponsor was also very different. If a program with a rating of more than 2% was broadcast on Chile TV, the title sponsorship fee would go up to 100 million. If it was broadcast on Dachuan Satellite TV, they would be stupid to give it 50 million. In addition, the television station said that they would pay the licensing fee to Qingguang Media. However, they couldn't ask the television station to give you a primetime slot and make you pay for it, right? A primetime slot was an investment worth tens of millions. Therefore, the television station definitely had to take a share of the advertising sponsorship. As the program producer, most of the money that Qingguang Media could earn came from the advertising sponsorship. The other half came from other aspects of copyright expansion, such as the licensing fee for on-demand broadcasting on video websites and so on. If they had artistes under them, of course they could also send them to their own program to familiarize themselves and make their own artistes popular. That was also a cash cow and could be considered a profit. Also, if this program achieved unprecedented success in the country, or if foreign companies recognized this model, the future copyright export would be another story. Chapter 995. After finalizing the television station, schedule, and sponsors, according to the contract signed by Chu Zijin and Chili Pepper TV, the basic title sponsorship fee was 100 million, and the 3 special sponsorship fees totaled 60 million, of which 60 million would be given to Chili Pepper TV. Chili Pepper TV bought high. My God. The first season's copyright licensing fee was 40 million. Including the video website's licensing fee and on-demand share, it was estimated to be less than 40 million. Deducting the share to Chili Pepper TV, Qingguang Media's basic income was about 180 million. However, the entire program's production and publicity costs were calculated to be about 180 million. This included the rental of the venue, the construction of the stage equipment, the appearance fees of the celebrity artists, the travel and accommodation fees of the contestants, and various other coordination fees. On the surface, Qingguang Media might be able to break even after completing the entire project, with no profit or loss. As for exporting the copyright overseas in the future, it was something that could only be chanced upon and could not be considered a stable income. On the other hand, Chili Pepper TV was guaranteed to earn 20 million. Of course, doing business was not charity. Risks and benefits coexisted. What was mentioned before was the basic income, but if the program's ratings exceeded expectations, the various income would rise steadily. For example, if the average ratings reached 2%, it would be a guarantee. If the ratings reached between 2% and 5%, the sponsorship fee would increase by 10%. Chili Pepper TV's advertising fee would also increase by 10%, and the copyright licensing fee would increase by 5%. In the terms of the contract, if the national ratings exceeded 5%, and the national online viewership and topic share exceeded 15%, the sponsorship fee would be doubled, and Chili Pepper TV's copyright licensing fee would also increase by 50%. At that time, even if they had to pay more to Chili Pepper TV, the overall plate would be bigger, and the profits that Qingguang Media could earn would be extremely impressive. At that time, what awaited Qingguang Media would be at least 200 million in net profit, as well as the expected income from overseas authorizations. Although Chu Zijin had just entered the industry, she had not let down Qingguang's trust in her to be able to perfect such a business model in such a short time. The first season of the program had a total of 8 episodes, and they were only recording 4 of them. They were waiting for the first and second episodes to be aired on the satellite to observe the specific effects, and then they could make changes to the content of the next 4 episodes. Of course, the people with special abilities that could be found at the moment could only last for 4 episodes. Now, the production team still had to continue planning and collect program materials from all over the country. Qingguang had no opinion on the contract that Chu Zijin had signed. He was just worried that the ratings would not be satisfactory. It was a pity that although he was known as the strongest and most versatile variety king, he relied on his own unorthodox methods. It was a little difficult for him to give suggestions. Even if he studied hard and really had the ability to do so, he was not willing to spend his energy on it. His thinking was very simple. Since he had let Chu Zijin take over this responsibility, he would trust her 100% and let her do whatever she wanted. What if they accidentally created a huge IP worth billions of yuan? If the viewership ratings really collapsed, at worst he would personally participate in the next 4 episodes. Can a person hold in their urine to death? Forget it, he didn't want to think so much. What he needed to think about now was how to deal with the trouble in front of him. He looked back silently at the bloody script in front of him, and then secretly looked at Jiang Yage, who was hiding in the other corner of the coffee shop and discussing with a red face, and Jin Shirue, who had just arrived. He thought to himself, can I redo this script? A kissing scene is a kissing scene, I admit it. But what the hell are you doing? After defeating the opponent, spin 720 degrees under the restraint of the boxing ring guardrail for 180 seconds. Would your family stupidly stare at someone kissing on the screen for 3 minutes? Besides, have you ever seen someone kiss in circles while kissing? Gymnastics kissing? Chen Guang turned to look at Big Beard. Uncle? Big Beard Deng's face turned red. Don't look at me like that. I'm innocent too. After I finish filming this movie for Solomon, I've decided to shoot a gay movie without a female lead. I've even thought of the name Brokeback Mountain. You are doing this to avoid Jiang Yage and Jin Shirue? Yes. I'm old and a little tired. Accompanying Gage to study is really torturous. But isn't this a film made by the great director Li? Big Beard Deng stretched out 2 fingers. I will do too. I have talked to old Li about the copyright and I will co-direct with him. Qin Guang silently grabbed his hand. I think you may need you want to be the male lead? No, I think you need an investor who is not short of money. As the two were talking, Jiang Yage pulled Jin Shirue over. Big Beard, these are the last few scenes, let's hurry up and shoot today. Jin Shirue wanted to say something but stopped. Qin Guang and Deng Xiaojiang couldn't tell if she was looking forward to it or shy. Qin Guang coughed. I have a cold recently, so it is not suitable for kissing scenes. In fact, it was not that they could not shoot, but if they really shot it according to Jiang Yage's script, he was afraid that the old men in Yanjing would catch them on the spot for a wedding. Big Beard also pinched his fingers. Today is not an auspicious day for shooting, so it is not suitable to go out. It is better to stay at home. The two struggle did not have any effect, and the next morning, the rest of the crew was dragged to Wujing Film City. Ren Chong, Zhao Yueling, Zhou Ye, and the rest of the lead actors had already left the crew, and the next time they met would probably be when the film was edited and the cinema release was scheduled. Chen Guang pressed the makeup artist on the chair to touch up her makeup, and from time to time he would secretly look at Jiang Yage and Jin Shirue, who were also putting on makeup, and he could not help but feel a little strange. The stupid script written by Jiang Yage was rejected in the end. After his argument with Big Beard, they cut off the scenes that could not be shown on the big screen, and compressed the crazy 180 seconds into 15 seconds. Stop joking. People would be scolded for being immoral if they spent dozens of dollars to enter the cinema with a close-up kissing scene for 3 minutes. So, it was not that the kissing scene could not be filmed, but at least it had to be done normally. His fight had also achieved some results, so it was not difficult to accept. But now, Qin Guang still could not relax, because he had never thought of shooting the kissing scene of Jin Shirue and Jiang Yage at the same time on the same day. In the movie, Jin Shirue played the role of his dead ex-girlfriend, and Jiang Yage played the role of Qin Guang's little fan who inspired him to fight again when he was middle-aged. The two characters appeared in the movie more than 10 years apart, and even in the movie, one of the scenes was at the beginning and the other at the end, so it did not feel out of place when it was filmed. But Qin Guang did not expect that when it came to the actual filming things would rush, and people would chase people away. Unknowingly, it had become a kissing scene with both of them on the same day. This was their first kiss on screen. Although it was quite enviable to think about, it was actually very stressful and not happy at all. Instead, it was super awkward. If this kind of thing were to spread, wouldn't I be hacked to death? In addition, although there were not many people in the crew at this time, at least half of the people in the crew had left. But the rest of the guys might also be making up stories about me in their minds. Qin Guang turned his head and glanced at Yang Shi, who was secretly looking at him. Sure enough, even this guy had a meaningful smile on his face, let alone the others. Do you think I enjoy it? This is simply charaba, okay? Not knowing what Jin Shirue and Jiang Yage were thinking at this time, Qin Guang pricked up his ears again and eavesdropped on their whispers. He thought that if Jin Shirue felt embarrassed, then he would only shoot one scene today and shoot the kissing scene with another person tomorrow. Although the old man had invincible acting skills, the old man was not ready to sacrifice for art. He could only drag it out for one day. Yage, when I kiss him later, do you think he will stick his tongue out? Sister Shirue, don't worry. No. Jin Shirue's tone was a little disappointed, but also a little relieved. No, with his temper he definitely will. Then what should I do? I'm so embarrassed. I'm a little embarrassed. Jiang Yage patted Jin Shirue's shoulder. Sister Shirue, don't worry. Don't look at how scared you are now. When you give him a hug later, I guarantee that your mind will be blank. At that time, you just need to act as yourself. Big Beard will definitely not say anything. Even if you ask him to say NG he won't dare. Jin Shirue was relieved, then looked at Jiang Yage again. She wanted to say something but hesitated. That's good, but you... Jiang Yage understood. She knew that Sister Shirue was a little embarrassed that she was shooting with Chen Guang first today, and then it was her turn later. Sister Shirue, what are you thinking? Didn't we never share the cup when we drink together? Jin Shirue suddenly realized, it seems so. But don't be too proud, I'll say the ugly words first. Anyway, I've made up my mind. When I shoot my scene later, I will deliberately NG 17 or 18 times. You are the one who is thin-skinned, so don't blame me for being ruthless. Jin Shirue made a gesture to pinch Jiang Yage's waist. You? So sinister. Sorry for my rudeness. No, I want to NG too. Chen Guang decisively withdrew his power. He really couldn't listen anymore. His mind began to imagine the scene later. Big Beard was hysterically yelling NGs. Then he gave the two of them a variety of fancy NGs from all sorts of angles, and then took advantage of them. He silently flicked his hair. Too handsome, too charming is also a great trouble. As he turned his head, he saw a group of people walking over from the other side of the set. In the lead was a handsome young man in a white suit. Chapter 996. The man in the white suit was none other than his old acquaintance, Bai Hua. The people around him were all big-bellied and imposing. They were clearly the bosses of various companies. Even so, Bai Hua stood proudly in the crowd, like a crane among chickens. His imposing manner completely overwhelmed everyone else. He truly lived up to his reputation as the first young master of the third generation. Chen Guang's eyes widened. What the hell? Why is brother Bai Hua here at this time? Are you here to mess with me? Bai Hua saw Chen Guang from afar and decisively walked out of the crowd. The others hurriedly followed behind him. Among this group of people, Chen Guang also saw a few old acquaintances, including Lu Chao from Lushi culture, Wang Qing's father, Wang Guoxiong, and the big boss of the five capital underworld, Fourth Master Yin. At this time all the big bosses' faces were filled with joy. Chen Guang remembered that Bai Hua had previously come to Dechuan province on behalf of Tianyi Energy to discuss a new energy project that would invest tens of billions of yuan. It seemed that the matter would be finalized in a few months. Chen Guang, I've asked around and found out that you're filming here today. Since I'm already nearby, I thought that I might as well pay you a visit. Chairman Liu and the rest also wanted to come over and greet you. I hope I didn't disturb you, right? Bai Hua walked closer and asked with a smile. Chen Guang thought, you're already here, what else can I say? Even if someone really has an opinion, it should be Big Beard Deng's problem, not me. He could only casually wave his hand. It's fine. Bai Hua acted as if he was very familiar with them. He turned around and asked the big bosses to sit down. Big Beard Deng also recognized Bai Hua and the people behind him. He hurriedly came over to say hello and then quickly ran away. Bai Hua waved at Jin Shirue and Jiang Yage, who were putting on makeup on the other side of the room. He then turned around and asked Chen Guang curiously, I heard that you guys are almost done. What scenes are you shooting today? Is it okay for us to watch? I know that your acting skills have already reached the pinnacle. You won't be affected, right? Chen Guang shrugged. It doesn't affect me at all. As for today's scene, he swallowed his saliva, then looked at the other bosses like Lu Chao, who were like curious babies, and sighed. We'll be shooting the kissing scene today. Bai Hua's body trembled. Kiss scene? With whom? Chen Guang's gaze turned to the two women, Jin and Jiang. His eyes were especially deep. Those two. Show. The people who came to watch the show twitched, and the big shots also had a very unique feeling in their hearts. Their impromptu visit had actually become a historical moment? As half an insider in the entertainment industry, Lu Chao immediately began to popularize science to others. Jin Shirue and Jiang Yage never shoot intimate scenes. Chen Guang waved his hand. Director Lu, don't mention this matter. I'm under a lot of pressure. Lu Chao thought that Chen Guang was being modest and instead said with a face full of envy, Director Chen, you're being too modest. You don't need to feel any pressure. Think about it, the two of them have been in the industry for so many years and they've filmed so many scenes. Not to mention kissing scenes, have they even held hands before? No, right? In my opinion, the only person in the entire entertainment industry who can make the two heavenly queens break through their limits and boundaries is you. That's right. If it were anyone else, would the two heavenly queens make such a sacrifice? Nonsense, how can this be called a sacrifice? This is filming. This is the art of film, what do you know? Old Lu is still the one who knows how to speak. As expected of someone in the industry. Anyway, Director Chen, do your best. I won't say much, but on behalf of my company, when your movie is released, Our company will directly book the entire theater. Yo, that's a big deal. Old Lee, your company has more than 30,000 employees. Are you going to do it together? Don't tell me you're bragging? The boss, who was called Old Lee, waved his hand nonchalantly. How is this a big deal? My company organizes our employees to watch movies every year. Doesn't it matter who they watch? Of course we have to watch our own people. The others also chimed in one after another. These guys were indeed shrewd people. Their words were all flattering Qin Guang, but no one expressed any envy. Everyone present was a big shot. Although they might not know the real background of Jin Shirui and Jiang Yage, they could roughly guess it, so they did not dare to be envious. That was why things in the world were so interesting. Big shots like Lu Chao and Wang Guoxiong were much more powerful than Bai Shueha and his son from the Dan family. It was because they stood at a higher position that they could see more things, and their actions were more meaningful. However, Qin Guang did not enjoy their flattery. Instead, he could not sit still, feeling as if he was being roasted on a bonfire. Especially when Bai Hua's expression gradually changed, Qin Guang felt even more unbearable. Brother Bai wanted to say something but hesitated. Perhaps he felt that something was wrong, but everyone here was an outsider, so it was not convenient for him to speak. Finally, when the cameras were about to start shooting, Bai Hua separated himself from the crowd and looked for Qin Guang. He asked, Qin Guang, is this okay? Qin Guang knew what he was referring to. After all, in his heart, he and Jin Shirui had always been lovers. Back then, he had fallen in love with Qin Yu, before he was willing to completely give up on Jin Shirui. But today, Qin Guang had to shoot kissing scenes with two people at the same time. It was inevitable that he would not feel good. Although their relationship had changed and it was no longer the love from before, Bai Hua did not want to see Jin Shirui feel wronged. How could Qin Guang tell him that not only did Jin Shirui not want to feel wronged, but she also wanted to learn from Jiang Yage and crazily take NGs? He had no choice but to pat Bai Hua on the shoulder. Brother Bai, don't worry. I understand. Don't think too much about it. It's just a movie. Isn't this normal for other actors? Bai Hua felt that there was something wrong with his words, but he couldn't refute him. It was not until Qin Guang walked away that he fiercely stomped his feet. Hey, I didn't think it through. I should have asked him just now. Since you said it's a movie, what would you do if Shirui and Grace were to shoot kissing scenes with someone else? Didn't he trick them into doing it? Jin Shirui was lying quietly on the hospital bed. The makeup on her face was a little pale and she looked very pale. This was a specially decorated ward. There was a white lily on the windowsill, and the TV was playing a highlights clip of a boxing match. In the movie, the girl's life was about to come to an end. She could close her eyes at any time, never to open them again. But at this moment, her eyes were wide open as she stared at the TV screen. Congratulations. Congratulations to Chen Lei for winning the CBO championship. He's an unprecedented genius. On the TV, the young man she missed day and night was standing in the boxing ring. His eyes were swollen, and it was hard to tell whether his face was covered in blood or sweat. He raised his right hand high and grinned. Even through the screen, one could see the pride in his heart. The scene on the TV changed to a reporter interviewing the boxer, Chen Lei. Mr. Qin, what do you want to say the most at this time? On the TV, Chen Lei was facing the camera. Me. I want to tell my girlfriend, no, my wife. Wife, did you see that? I'm coming home right now. Let's get married. Jin Shirui smiled. Her smile was exceptionally sweet, and a faint blush appeared on her pale face. Her face was filled with unparalleled happiness. Cut. Good, very good. This scene is amazing. Big Beard suddenly shouted, cut, and then checked the effects of the scene over and over again. The more he looked, the more satisfied he was. Jin Shirui's condition was perfect to the point of being impeccable. Originally, the bearded man was worried that it would be difficult for her to finish the entire scene in one go with this makeup, especially the last one, which was especially difficult. However, when Jin Shirui squeezed out that faint pink color on her face, the bearded man knew that he had it. From the monitor, the scene was even more perfect. In that instant, Jin Shirui's expression and the light and shadow in the ward intertwined and brightened the lifeless atmosphere. Although Big Beard was good at plot and rhythm, he was also good at using light and shadow effects. Even if it was just a small scene in a modern drama, he still used his aesthetics to the extreme. After another round of work, he immediately moved on to the next scene. The first scene was about 5 seconds of Qin Guang breaking the door and Jin Shirui looking at the door in a daze for about 8 seconds. The scene quickly changed to Qin Guang rushing forward and hugging her. Why? Why didn't you tell me earlier? What? I didn't want to disturb your training. I wanted to see you win the championship. Didn't I win the championship for you? If you had told me earlier, I would have taken you to the hospital earlier. It's useless, it's useless. This is a terminal illness. Impossible. I won't admit it. It's only been half a year. There's still hope. Qin Guang bent down and hugged Jin Shiyue tightly. His eyes were so gentle that it could melt glaciers. Jin Shiyue's breathing gradually became heavy. She hugged Qin Guang tightly. Don't do this. Kiss me. Why? Because I want to. With that, Jin Shiyue hugged Qin Guang tightly and kissed him. Big Beard waved his hand and the camera quickly moved forward. Finally, after 10 seconds, Big Beard let out a long breath. Perfect. Jin Shiyue opened her eyes and let go of him. She only came back to her senses now. That's it? What did I just do? Why can't I remember anything? Did I lose my memory? There was no problem with my acting just now? There was no NG. How did I pass it in one take? Jin Shiyue was a little unhappy. It was such a rare opportunity, but her mind was in a daze. She didn't know anything. She got down from the hospital bed with a thick hospital gown and ran to the monitor with a red face. She checked the effects of the camera with Qin Guang and Big Beard. Only then did she see how she acted. She understood at once. Although she was unconscious at that time, she was brought into the scene by Qin Guang. At that time she was his first love. She didn't need to think much. She just needed to give her all for the last kiss. The next time she appeared, it would be a funeral photo. Shiyue, your acting is getting better. At this time, Bai Hua also came over and praised her. Although Bai Hua no longer liked Jin Shiyue, seeing such a loving kiss scene, even if it hadn't gone through post-production, still made his heart ache. May all the lovers in the world be together, but he was still waiting for the flower in the mirror and the moon in the water. He didn't even know when it would end. After being praised by Bai Hua, Jin Shiyue felt embarrassed. She stole a glance at Qin Guang, then blushed and ran to the dressing room to remove her makeup. Qin Guang watched from the side for a while, then went to remove her makeup as well. Big Beard and Jiang Yage started to reshoot a few scenes that Qin Guang felt were unsatisfactory before he came to the set. Lu Chao and the others surrounded Bai Hua, keeping a distance from the crew and chatting with one another. President Qin is really a happy winner in life. That's right. Although they said on Weibo that there's nothing between them, I think there's definitely a problem. The way they looked at me just now was amazing. Even I, who doesn't watch movies much, was moved to tears when I knew they were filming. If I didn't treat them as my other half in my heart, wouldn't the acting be too realistic? But there's still a scene with Jiang Yage later. Oh right, President Qin is doing his middle-aged makeup right now, right? Yes. Such a complicated makeup to change his age will probably take an hour or so. I still have a meeting at the company, so I'll take my leave first. Me too. After all, this group of big shots were busy people. They had already given Qin Guang enough face by following Bai Hua over to greet him. With too many people here, it was hard to guarantee that Qin Guang wouldn't feel awkward. Therefore, everyone found an excuse to leave, leaving only Bai Hua, who had nothing else to do today, to stay. Of course, when the big shots left, they couldn't help but feel regretful that they didn't get to see Qin Guang kiss the two heavenly queens in a row. This was also the reason why they left at the last minute. They were really afraid that Qin Guang and Jiang Yage's kissing scene would be so perfect. If that happened, how would they flatter him? It wouldn't be a good thing if they accidentally saw a love triangle between the rich and the powerful. They thought about how some of their descendants were addicted to these two little girls, and then thought about how they could use filming to get close to Qin Guang. They couldn't help but feel heartache for their juniors. Compared to ordinary people, their juniors might be envied as second-generation rich kids, but compared to Qin Guang, their second-generation rich kids were really embarrassing. Little Qin was really amazing. In just half a year, he had gone from being an ordinary student to the top. Even young Master Bai from Yanjing, who came to Wujing, specially came to greet him. With this kind of treatment and status, it wouldn't be wrong to say that he was the #1 young master in China. Unfortunately, he didn't have any background. If his good-for-nothing sons had 1/10 of his ability, it would be enough to comfort his old heart. About 3 hours later, at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the second kiss scene officially began. Because this was the last part of the boxing match, the props had to be completely restored to the previous scenes. As for the extras, they didn't have to worry too much. It would be fine as long as the extras were glued to the extras in the post-production. In addition, some of the main audience members who had lines and close-ups also came to the set today. Bai Hua stood far beside Big Beard and looked at the monitor with him. When he saw Qin Guang kissing Jiang Yage again and Jiang Yage crying tears of happiness, he also unknowingly teared up. He didn't know that even though he was separated by more than 20 meters, he was still dragged into the world of acting by Qin Guang. At this time, his mind was turning over and over again, and all he could think about was the tall girl who he bitterly loved but didn't respond to. The love in the movie is so happy, but why is my life so bitter? Bai Hua silently turned his face away, not wanting to let others see his tears. He really wanted to drink a glass of wine and then forget everything. Chapter 997. Cut. Okay. Perfect. We're really done this time. Bai Hua was lost in thought when Big Beard Deng, who was sitting next to him, suddenly shouted. He stood up from his chair with a face full of excitement, waving his hands and feet. Bai Hua was shocked. He looked at Big Beard's back. Even though he couldn't see his face, he could feel the excitement and vigor coming from him. He didn't look like an old man in his 50s at all. On the big set, the other crew members also raised their arms and cheered. For many people in the crew, the months-long filming had finally come to an end. Although it was faster than they had imagined, when the dust finally settled, they still felt a sense of satisfaction as if the long journey had finally come to an end. This was also a kind of relief. Qin Guang was still lying on the edge of the boxing ring, his head hanging in the air. Jiang Yage supported his head from below, still crying. She desperately moved her mouth closer to Qin Guang's. Not only that, but her tongue was also desperately moving forward. When she was chatting with Jin Shiriyue, she had put it nicely. The two of them were still wondering if Qin Guang would stick his tongue out. Previously, when Qin Guang and Jin Shiriyue were filming, it was Jin Shiriyue who was completely pulled into the scene and took the initiative to attack. Now it was Jiang Yage who was also pulled into the scene. Because she was playing the role of a particularly active and youthful beautiful girl fan, her performance was even more aggressive than Jin Shiriyue's. From the start of the scene, she wanted to rub Qin Guang's neck into her body. Her tongue was like an electric drill straight into his body. At that time, Qin Guang didn't avoid it. As the world's best actor, he brought others into the scene, and he himself was also in the scene. But now that Big Beard had clearly shouted, "Cut!" and the others had already started cheering, Qin Guang had instantly broken away from his acting, but Jiang Yage was still immersed in it. Imagine the scene at this moment. The others were raising their arms and cheering, flying hats and congratulating each other in various ways. But he and Jiang Yage were still kissing non-stop. It was really quite awkward. He tried to speak, but this woman was too unreserved. "Do you want me to eat your tongue?" He couldn't speak, afraid that she would accidentally bite him. At this moment, Qin Guang wanted to push her away, but he was in an awkward position. So when he forcefully pushed his head up, he ended up landing on her chest instead. Although when there was no one around, not to mention touching it, it wouldn't be a problem even if he held it in his hands and molded it into all sorts of shapes, but now they were in public. There were so many people, especially Brother Bai, who was watching. In Bai Hua's heart, he and Jin Shiriyue were the ones who had that kind of relationship. If he acted too intimately with Jiang Yage in front of him, it would seem like he was letting her down. Qin Guang knew that his thoughts were quite shameless, so other than this kissing scene, he had been trying very hard to keep his distance from Jin Shiriyue. But just from Jin Shiriyue's kiss, which was almost like her acting, Qin Guang knew that his efforts were probably in vain. The hardest thing to manipulate was the human heart. The tree may desire peace, but the wind will not subside. He had even said something as heartless as breaking up, so how could he push Jin Shiriyue away? What made him even more distressed was that this matter would actually be better handled by Jiang Yage. But it was obvious that Jiang Yage didn't want to have a showdown with Jin Shiriyue. She hid the fact that the two of them had already had a relationship from Jin Shiriyue and even gave Jin Shiriyue advice. Qin Guang was speechless. He didn't know what the obsessed Jiang Yage was thinking. Bai Hua was still sitting in the same place. The cameraman left the camera and went to celebrate. He didn't turn off the power. At this time he was still looking at the two of them kissing passionately. He had never acted before, so he didn't know how to evaluate the current situation. But he had already found an explanation for the two of them. He heard that really good actors had a process of getting into and out of character. Maybe the two of them were too immersed in character and couldn't come out of it for a while? Although Bai Hua hadn't read the script, he could feel the sincerity of the two characters. The more he thought about it, the more envious he was. The happier the others on the set were, the lonelier he felt. Finally, the set gradually quieted down. They couldn't be excited for long. What awaited Big Beard Deng and the other directors was the next step of the special effects and editing work. They still had a lot of work to do. One after another, people noticed that Qin Guang and Jiang Yage were still kissing. Many of them pinched their fingers and counted. It had been about 4 to 5 minutes, right? Aren't you guys a little too much showing off your affection in and out of the show? Chen Guang was really embarrassed. He secretly reached out to scratch Jiang Ye's armpit. Ha 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 ha. Jiang Ye couldn't hold it anymore. She giggled and stepped back. She said unhappily, "What are you doing? Be more serious when you're filming. Don't disturb me." Chen Guang shrank back into the middle of the boxing ring and then stood up straight. "You still have the cheek to say that to me? We've already finished filming, okay? It's completely finished?" Jiang Ye was stunned. "How is that possible? We just kissed. It was at most 5 seconds." Chen Guang really didn't want to talk to her. "Thank you, it's been 5 minutes." Jiang Ye exclaimed, "Ah, it can't be, right? Where did all the time go?" Chen Guang shrugged. "I haven't even had the chance to enjoy my youth and I'm already old." Big Beard and the other main cast members couldn't help but laugh. They all thought that Jiang Ye was completely immersed in her character. She even bumped into the joke of 10,000 years in a blink of an eye. At this moment, Jin Shirue, who was extremely envious of Jiang Ye, also walked up and patted her on the shoulder. "Alright, the movie is really finished this time. Go and remove your makeup." Jiang Ye quietly helped Jin Shirue up and looked in Chen Guang's direction reluctantly. She said to Jin Shirue in a low voice, "I haven't even NG yet. It's only been one shot. I can't take it lying down." "I didn't either." "That's true." Chen Guang also cupped his hands in greeting to everyone. He had intended to remove his makeup, but he saw that the main cast members were all staring at him. He didn't know what he was thinking, but his brain worked for a moment. He said casually, "It's rare for the movie to be finished. Uncle, don't work tonight. Why don't we all find a place in Wujing for a meal? It can be considered a celebration." Deng Xiaojiang was stunned at first, but he immediately reacted. He thought to himself that this kid had really changed a lot in the past few months. He had matured and become more stable. He didn't even need me to remind him. He had taken the initiative to treat the entire crew to a meal to celebrate. He was no longer the willful college student who did things his own way, but the real boss Chen who had the demeanor of a general. "Of course you have to treat, you are the biggest investor of the movie." For many people in the crew, a treat from someone else might be a social event that they didn't want to waste their time on. But for the #1 internet celebrity in China, the boss of the movie investment company, and the person who had led the entire cast and crew to great heights in the past 2 months, it was naturally a big deal. There was another round of joyous noise on the set. Chen Guang saw that everyone was happy and he was also happy. He greeted Bai Hua, "Brother Bai, since you are here, don't leave tonight. Let's go eat together." Bai Hua subconsciously wanted to refuse, but before he could say anything, Chen Guang turned around and went to the makeup room. "I forget it. He has already invited me. If I don't go, it'll be a little disrespectful." Bai Hua didn't know how to describe his feelings at the moment. Everyone else was so happy, but his heart was heavy. He couldn't feel happy. He also knew that this wasn't good, but he couldn't control his feelings. Forget it, he would just find an excuse to leave when he came out later. But it was rare for him to come here, so he had to ask Chen Guang about Chen Yu. He was really unwilling to just leave like this. While he was worrying about his gains and losses, Bai Hua finally followed the crew to the most famous place in Wujing City, Everyday Fishing Bay. When the 2 buses, 4 MPVs and Chen Guang's Passat stopped together, it was already 8 o'clock at night. However, the staff of Everyday Fishing Bay who had received the call, had already lined up in a long line at the entrance. A red carpet led from the entrance to the hall inside, stretching for more than 100 meters. An eye-catching red banner was hung at the entrance of the hall. It read, "A warm welcome to the crew of women for dinner at Everyday Fishing Bay. May women do well at the box office." From the time old Ma, the floor manager, made the call to reserve seats to the boss of Everyday Fishing Bay, it took less than 2 hours. The respect expressed by the boss was evident. This old restaurant, which had a history of decades, was known as the best fish in Wujing. In addition to the authentic taste and great reputation, Chen Guang chose this restaurant for another purpose. This restaurant was located in Shuanghe County, a suburb of Wujing, which happened to be very close to the campus of Gokyo University in Shuanghe. After dinner, he could easily stroll back to school by himself and call Lin Jingwei and the others to have a sumptuous meal. Chen Guang, who was walking at the front, cupped his hands to greet others and marveled in his heart. He didn't expect that he would receive such treatment just by leading a team to have a meal. Things were different now. In the past, in order to have a sumptuous meal here, everyone in the dorm had to reserve seats at least a month in advance. After paying the bill, they had to pinch their fingers and count how many steamed buns they would have to eat for the next month. He had mixed feelings. No wonder so many people were after fame and power. People living at the top of the pyramid were much more convenient than ordinary people. Even if it was just a small meal, they could enjoy benefits that ordinary people couldn't imagine. He called a few of his buddies in the dorm. He wanted to call Gao Ya and Sun Xiaoxuan, but in the end only Lin Jingwei came. Xiong'er and Bai Fan invited someone to play basketball, while Gao Ya and Sun Xiaoxuan were busy with the student council. I think Sun doesn't want to come. After everyone was settled, Qin Guang went downstairs alone to wait for Lin Jingwei, which was what he said the moment he arrived. Qin Guang couldn't do anything about it. I didn't think it through. Chapter 998. Lin Jingwei looked at him and sighed. Sometimes I wonder, are you the second-generation heir or am I the second-generation heir? Compared to you, I'm really the perfect man, the kind that you can't find even if you look for a lantern. Let's not talk about me, just look at brother Xiaobai. He's a handsome man, a gentleman, and the number of girls who like him can form a line from Zizaman to the Olympic Village. But he's also hanging his heart on you, you crooked tree. Sai, look at how innocent we are. Standing with a decent person like me, brother Guang, is it stressful for you? Sai. Qin Guang felt uneasy after hearing what Lin Jingwei said. All right. It's all my fault. Seeing Qin Guang sigh, Lin Jingwei comforted him again. All right, I understand. It's not all your fault. Everyone has emotions and desires. With your personality you can't take the initiative. Otherwise you'd be able to open an imperial palace. I'm not blaming you. I just feel that this is a little unfair to the class representative. Gao Yu often talks to me about the class representative. She wants me to advise you, but I can't give you any advice. What are your plans? Are you going to hide like this for the rest of your life? What if the class rep doesn't give up and you leave her all alone? Qin Guang felt even more helpless. You just said that I'm a playboy. Why do you want me to give the class rep an answer now? I've tried, but she won't give up. What I mean is, since you're already a playboy, why are you so shy? Why don't you just give her the title of class rep? I can't do it. I'm not good enough for her. Lin Jingwei rolled his eyes. I'm really impressed by the two of you. Even your excuses are so similar. Let's not talk about this. Let's eat. Qin Guang pulled Lin Jingwei into the private room and asked him to sit on the other side of Bai Hua. There were more than 60 people in the crew, but only a few of them were able to sit in the private room. Only Big Beard Deng and a few other assistant directors as well as Yang Shi and Old Ma, Qin Guang, Jiang Yage, Jin Shirui and Bai Hua, and now Lin Jingwei. The large round table was just about full. Lin Jingwei didn't want to make Qin Guang's mood too heavy, so after sitting down he took the initiative to chat with Bai Hua. But after all, this wasn't like in private. They couldn't talk about the matters in the imperial city of Beijing, so they could only talk about other things. In the end, after just a few words, Lin Jingwei brought up a sore spot and asked, Brother Xiaobai, you went to visit the filming crew today? What kind of scenes did they shoot? How did it feel to watch a movie for the first time? Bai Hua, who had finally calmed down, felt a lump in his throat again. It was pretty good. Pretty good? Was it Brother Guang who acted well? Or was the movie itself good? Brother Xiaobai, are you interested in investing in a movie? We've all seen it online. It's pretty easy to invest in a movie these days. Although most of the people in the private room didn't know who Lin Jingwei was, seeing that he was quite familiar with Bai Hua, they could roughly guess that this classmate of Qin Guang wasn't simple. They all chimed in, saying that with CEO Bai's status and wealth, it wouldn't be surprising for him to invest in a movie. Even Jiang Yage was interested. She pulled Jin Shirui over and said that if they really wanted to shoot a movie, they might not have the time to be the main characters, but it wouldn't be a problem for them to make a cameo appearance. Bai Hua's eyes were fixed on Qin Guang. Qin Guang, if I invest in a movie, can you help me get your sister, Qin Yu, to play the female lead role? Qin Guang, who was drinking water, almost spat it on Bai Hua's face. Who will be the male lead? Bai Hua blushed. Me. The moment he said that, Qin Guang, Lin Jingwei, and Jiang Yage were all dumbfounded. Brother Xiaobai was really going all out. This guy had obviously seen Qin Guang's kissing scene today and wanted to take advantage of her. Qin Guang placed his right foot on Lin Jingwei's foot under the table and rubbed it with all his might before forcefully putting on an act and said with difficulty, My big sister doesn't like to show her face in public. Bai Hua sighed again. You're right. I was too impulsive. Please apologize to him on my behalf. Impulsive my ass. Apologize my ass. Let's not talk about whether Qin Yu really existed. Even if there was such a person, no one had heard what you said. There was no need for you to apologize. As long as you can borrow my mouth to speak to the non-existent Chen Yu, you will be satisfied, right? There's no need to apologize. It's not a big deal. Qin Guang evaded. On the other side, Jiang Yage knew that Qin Yu was Qin Guang in disguise. She knew that the more she said, the more mistakes she would make. She quickly stopped talking and pulled Jin Shirihue to look at the food on the table. Bai Hua fiercely drained the cup in front of him, choking and coughing twice. He then said, "Actually, the apology is fake. I just want to see her." At this time, the other people at the table also read the meaning. They all praised that Qin Yu must be an unparalleled person to be able to get CEO Bai's favor. Bai Hua felt honored by the praise. No one forced him to drink. He filled his glass again and drained it. Then he cupped his hands to the crowd. "Director Deng, you're right. I'm not afraid to say it as a joke. Ordinary women can't enter my eyes. But ever since I met Miss Qin Yu, although it's not exaggerated to say that I can't eat or drink, I really can't accept other people. I don't want to judge her appearance. It's blasphemy to only look at her appearance. But in my opinion, in this world, no woman can compare to her temperament. Even if I say this in front of Shirihue and Solomon, I'll say it. Solomon, don't you think so?" Bai Hua drank a bit too much. Jiang Yage secretly looked at Qin Guang, whose face was so red that he wanted to hang himself. She nodded. "Brother Bai is right. I really can't compare to Qin Yu's temperament." She began to sympathize with Bai Hua again. She lifted her foot and stepped on Qin Guang's left foot. As a result, Qin Guang's right foot stepped on Lin Jingwei, while his left foot was stepped on by Jiang Yage, creating a terrible cycle. Big Beard Deng's eyes widened. "So amazing. Listening to CEO Bai, I really want to see it. Maybe she's really a natural-born movie queen. Qin Guang, you have such a sister?" Qin Guang squeezed out a smile. "My sister doesn't want to be a star." Bai Hua, who was next to him, took advantage of the fact that no one was paying attention and gulped down another glass. "Qin Guang is right. Alright, last time I asked you to help me bring her a letter. What did she say after reading it?" Qin Guang didn't know how to answer him. He just gritted his teeth and thought, "I can't let this guy continue to play. I really want to ask Luli for a pill that can erase other people's memories and stuff it into his stomach. Since you're so shameless, then don't blame me for being ruthless. Take this, it's even more ruthless than the good guy card." He coughed lightly. "My sister said that she's indebted to you, but it's not fate. She already has someone in her heart." Bai Hua froze as if he had been hit by a heavy blow. His emotions became a little too agitated as he poured himself another glass. Just as he was about to send it to his mouth, Lin Jingwei, who was beside him, quickly snatched it away. "Brother Xiaobai, you've drunk too much." Unexpectedly, Bai Hua abruptly pulled his right hand back, shoved the bottle into his mouth and drained it. He slammed the table and shouted hysterically. Is this it? Can you tell me who it is? I want to know why I lost." "What?" The atmosphere at the table suddenly became very strange. It was supposed to be a good celebration party, but a person of extraordinary status got himself drunk at the table. He was hurt by love and made a scene in front of everyone. It was a complete letdown. If it had been someone else, Big Beard would probably have chased them away with a glare, and the rest of the crew wouldn't have given him any face. But this was Bai Hua, the current vice president of Tianjin Energy, the person who had the power to control tens of billions of cash flow. Ever since he returned to China, he had become the new head of a huge state-owned enterprise that was very popular in the Chinese business world. Even though his current position had little to do with the entertainment industry, everyone knew that such a person would have a terrifying influence in China in the future. If anyone dared to offend him, he didn't have to do anything. He just needed to put on a show, and besides a famous director like Big Beard, everyone at the table would lose their jobs. Who could afford to offend him? Everyone didn't expect this. Wasn't this young CEO by quite an experienced person in the news? Why was his condition so strange today? Everyone at the table looked at each other as if they were sitting on pins and needles. They didn't know whether to stand or leave. They all felt that they had seen something they shouldn't have seen. If Mr. Bai sobered up later and remembered that he had embarrassed himself at the table, he might even hold a grudge against the others who had seen him at the table. This was King embarrassing. Qin Guang also didn't expect that a good meal would turn into such a situation. He was also angry. "This is my celebration party. Aren't you hurting my reputation by acting like a drunkard here? Besides, your alcohol tolerance is a bit bad. Brother Bai, you drank too much." Lin Jingwei could hear the anger in his heart, so he tried to smooth things over. "Qin Guang, stop it. Brother Bai doesn't usually drink white wine, so he lost control a bit. You know this the best. It's really bitter. Bai Hua's mind didn't listen to what Lin Jingwei was saying. He continued to stare straight at Qin Guang. He stammered, I'm sorry, Qin Guang. I didn't mean to make things difficult for you. I just can't accept it. I'm sorry. I beg you to understand me. I've never felt this way before. I can't explain it to you. But I really treated her wholeheartedly. I also know that forced melons won't be sweet. Feelings can't be one-sided. I understand that. I just don't understand. I don't understand. I'm not trying to take revenge. I'm not that kind of person. If it's really inconvenient for you to tell me who that person is, then you can describe to me what kind of person he is. I can't lose without knowing why. Bai Hua's tone became much gentler. His current state was that of a person who was drunk but didn't think he was drunk. After saying some nonsense, he temporarily regained some sobriety and felt ashamed of his drunken antics. In his heart, Qin Guang felt that Qin Yu was a fictional character, and the person she was in love with was even more fictional. You want me to describe a fictional person's fictional lover? Aren't you forcing me to bluff? At that moment, Jiang Yage poked his waist from the side. Qin Guang turned his head to look at her. Jiang Yage's eyes darted to the door from time to time. Her original intention was to think of a way to drag Bai Hua away. They couldn't stay here any longer. Qin Guang pretended to be enlightened. He looked at Jiang Yage with his mouth slightly agape and his eyes wide open. Jiang Yage cursed in her heart. What did you understand? She wanted to say something but it was too late. Qin Guang turned his head to look at Bai Hua and took a deep breath. Brother Bai, I really didn't want to tell you this. But if you really want to ask, I have no other choice. Speak. Bai Hua's eyes were hazy. Qin Guang said resolutely, My sister said that how can people of different genders fall in love? She likes gentle, petite and adorable girls. Bai Hua's eyes widened and his face became paler. His defeat was downright hopeless. Never in his wildest dreams would he have thought that he would lose to a man. The woman I like also likes women. No wonder my hot blood couldn't be exchanged for even the slightest bit of response. I used the wrong force. Why is my life so bitter? The most frightening thing was that the air suddenly became quiet. But in that instant, the private room was completely silent. Everyone's mouth was wide open, forming an O shape. Lin Jingwei, who was standing behind Bai Hua, had a look of despair on his face. My brother Guang, you really dare to King trick me? Jiang Yage clutched her chest, feeling that her heart was about to explode. Only Jin Shiriyue, who had seen Qin Yu before but didn't know anything, had a look of enlightenment. She subconsciously said, No wonder. When I saw Qin Yu in Beijing, I felt that she was especially manly. She had a little temperament in that aspect. Don't say any more. Bai Hua clutched his chest, his right hand holding the wine bottle, stumbling out of the room step by step. I'm going out for a breath of fresh air. Qin Guang, Lin Jingwei and Jin Jiang hurriedly followed him out. Before leaving the room, Qin Guang turned around and apologized to the others in the private room. Everyone, I'm sorry, but Brother Bai didn't mean any harm. You guys continue to eat. We'll find a way to send him to rest. Don't take it to heart. Big Beard and the others nodded, not daring to take it to heart. They only wished that they could lose their memories after tonight. They were 2 steps late. When Qin Guang and the others came out, Bai Hua was pulled by Lin Jingwei and poured the remaining half bottle of white wine into his mouth. Lin Jingwei was so anxious that he jumped up and down. Brother Bai, don't. The few of them crowded out the door under the surprised gaze of the daily fishing bay's waitress. Bai Hua didn't even take 2 steps before the wind blew against him. He held onto the tree next to him and began to vomit. However, he didn't sober up after vomiting. Instead, he became even more drunk. He struggled out of Lin Jingwei and Qin Guang's hands, tears streaming down his face. He didn't look like a graceful gentleman at all. He looked like a destitute young man who was trapped by love. The way he was, it would only make people sad and cry. I feel terrible. I want a drink. Qin Guang raised his hand and wanted to knock Bai Hua out. Lin Jingwei stopped him and shook his head slightly. Forget it. Let him vent. Your internal force should be able to prevent him from dying, right? Qin Guang retracted his hand. That won't happen. Then let him drink as much as he wants. This can't go on like this. It's too torturous. Let him give up completely. Brother Guang, do me a favor. I beg you. Other than the few of you, I only have Brother Bai as a friend. Seeing him like this, my heart feels terrible. If we knew it would be like this, we would have thought of something else. I'm also guilty. Qin Guang sighed. Fine. Didn't you drink? You drive to Chief Lu's club and let him drink as much as he wants. So, unfortunately, there's no medicine for regret in this world. Alcohol can only poison the intestines. Thus, the group of people drove Qin Guang's Passat. Jiang Yage drove, Jin Shiyue sat in the front passenger seat, and Qin Guang and Lin Jingwei sat in the back. One on the left and the other on the right. They carried Bai Hua towards the city. When they first got on the car, Bai Hua was still quiet. However, halfway through the journey, Bai Hua finally did something that made Qin Guang break out in a cold sweat. He took out his phone and turned to look at Qin Guang. Qin Guang, let me see your sister. I swear this is the last time I'll mention this. I want to hear the words you said to me from her mouth. Otherwise, I won't believe it. Just when Qin Guang was about to reject, Bai Hua waved his phone and continued, I took a photo of you outside the Silver Bull Hotel and saved it in my web drive. I originally planned to delete it and never mention it again. I know that you won't be happy about it, and it doesn't matter if you hate me in the future. But I just want to see her one last time. For this, I can do anything. After today, I'm going to empty my network disk. And I'll never mention it again. Damn. Okay. Looking at Lin Jingwei and Jin Shiyue, who were puzzled and looking at him, Lord Guang finally gave up. He would never let Lin Jingwei see a photo of him wearing a pink chiffon nightgown. In addition, Brother Xiaobai, you're too much of a braver person with alcohol. Brother Guang, what kind of photo is it? Lin Jingwei asked curiously. Scram. Qin Guang only gave him one word. Chapter 999. If he had a choice, he really didn't want the legendary Qin Yu to reappear. He felt that this was a stain on his life. If he could strangle his other self, he would rather let Qin Yu die. Unfortunately, he couldn't do it. Compared to a stain that Lin Jingwei already knew about, Qin Guang was more willing to hide another stain. At the very least, Lin Jingwei was involved in the whole matter of him pretending to be Qin Yu. Moreover, he was the one who got into it, so he couldn't absolve himself from the blame. He couldn't laugh at himself about this. But if this guy found out that he was wearing women's clothing when he was free, and that it was a sexy and revealing female clothing, Qin Guang was worried that he would have to kill him to silence him. After all, Lin Jingwei was only a little over 20 years old. He still had a lot of years ahead of him. It might be too cruel to let him die at such a young age. So, since Bai Hua said that this was the last time, forget it. He would just pinch his nose and bear it. After all, there was still Jin Shiyue present. If more people saw the photo in Bai Hua's hands, Qin Guang really didn't know how he would face the rest of his life. Of course, Brother Xiaobai had completely abandoned his integrity. They were already so familiar with each other, but he actually secretly took photos and then threatened him afterwards. Later on, he would definitely give him the most painful stab. This is the path you chose, and this one is also doing it for your own good. Instead of letting you suffer for no reason, why don't I, the old man, transform into a fairy and purify you? I want you to completely give up. I want your heart to shatter into ashes. I want you to directly escape into the void. I want you to be afraid of women in the future. There's no end to this, you're still pestering me. When they arrived at the clubhouse, Jiang Yage and Jin Shiyue covered their faces before entering. Although this was Lu Chao's territory, Qin Guang still didn't want the news to appear on tomorrow's news headlines that Qin Guang and Jiang Yage visited a private clubhouse together. Since he quietly entered the private room and sat down, Lin Jingwei waved the check to greet the waiter. In short, he asked the waiter in the club to behave and not disturb him. Bai Hua sat on the sofa for about 10 seconds before he turned around and looked at Qin Guang anxiously. Qin Guang couldn't deny it. Sigh, all right. Don't look at me like that. I'll go look for her now. Is she really in the 5 capitals? Bai Hua was overjoyed. What else could Qin Guang say? He nodded and said, it's really there and it's very close to here. Okay, you guys go ahead and sing. I'll be back soon. Bai Hua jumped up from the sofa and said, Jingwei, help me get a dozen beers. I want to boost my courage. The others also didn't want to talk to him. How can you boost your courage with your current courage? You're CO Bai and you don't even want your face anymore. How can you boost your courage? Are you trying to boost your cholecystitis? On the other side, Qin Guang pulled Jiang Yage and ran away. After all, he pretended to come out to pick them up, but he was drunk. He couldn't violate his principle of never driving after drinking. So Jiang Yage had to be his designated driver. After the two walked out of the private room, Qin Guang personally went to buy out the private room next door. He was very familiar with this move. What should we do now? Jiang Yage seemed excited and nervous. Even though she had already seen Qin Guang's good deed, she didn't expect to have the opportunity to personally participate in his cross-dressing process. This was a wonderful experience that couldn't be found anywhere else. Chen Guang shrugged. What else can we do? Put on makeup. Did you bring anything? Jiang Yage shook her head. I usually only put on some light makeup. I only bring some foundation with me. I'm afraid it'll be difficult. Then do you know how to put on makeup? How good are you compared to Sister Hua? Jiang Yage knew who Sister Hua was the moment she heard her name. She said cheerfully, to be honest, I learned from Sister Hua. Sister Hua said that I'm only a fingernail away from her. Qin Guang thought for a moment. That's good. I'll call someone to send something over. Qin Guang thought that he couldn't let Big Beard Deng know about this. Luckily, he still had the phone number of boss Hao Yukai, the CEO of Iris Flower Prop Company. Although it was a bit difficult to ask someone to send the equipment over at 10 o'clock at night, his face was bigger than the sky. Boss Hao shouldn't have any objections. Hao Yukai jumped 3 feet high after the phone call. He asked for the location and the equipment requirements. He immediately patted his chest and said that his company wasn't far from here, and the equipment would arrive in half an hour at most. Qin Guang's request was simple. He wanted the special makeup equipment that the guy who sang The Drunken Concubine used on stage. He also wanted a suit. Qin Guang didn't know what Hao Yukai wanted, but it shouldn't be much. After all, Sister Hua, the #1 magic artist in Beijing, had only carried a suitcase over. As for why he wanted these things, he wouldn't explain it to Hao Yukai. Boss Hao wouldn't ask either. As long as Qin Guang owed him a favor, he would be more than happy. In just 25 minutes, Hao Yukai personally carried the bags and even brought a makeup artist to the rescue. How could Qin Guang let someone he didn't trust see his ugly appearance? If word got out, he wouldn't be able to face the world anymore. Since Jiang Yage was there, Qin Guang decisively sent everyone away. Then, Qin Guang used his phone to search for the photos he had taken when he was Qinyu and asked Jiang Yage to compare them. About 40 minutes later, the supermodel, Qinyu, reappeared. Jiang Yage looked at her work of art with satisfaction. When I don't want to sing or act anymore, I can steal Sister Hua's business, she said as she poked Qin Guang's fake breasts. So annoying, it's more bouncy than mine. Stop it. It's been an hour. Go back to the room next door and tell them I'll be there soon. Will Qinyu be there soon or will Qin Guang be there soon? Slapping her butt, Qin Guang roared, I told you to stop fooling around. But your voice right now, it's okay. Don't worry about me. I have a way. Jiang Yage responded. Then she looked at Qin Guang up and down happily before going back to the room next door. Qin Guang took out a cup from his bag and called out to Liu Li in his mind. Unfortunately, there was no response. He had no choice but to clench his teeth and sink into the cup. As soon as he went in, he was greeted by a fist. Lu Ming's cheering came from afar. Sister Liu Li, quick. He's here again. Beat him up. Qin Guang quickly covered his face. Stop it. This is a critical moment. Don't ruin my face. Pfft. Liu Li's fist didn't hit his face in the end. Instead, she laughed. This idiot, pretending to be a woman again. Lu Ming also laughed and waved his big green fruit. Yo, I couldn't tell. You're pretty good looking. This guy really knows how to have fun. He's self-sufficient. Qin Guang touched his chest. There's something. What the hell? He didn't know what was wrong with the heavenly holy grail today. It brought in the makeup it put on outside. Usually he would run away decisively. But now he was under the eaves. Let me lower my head first. The situation is urgent. Don't tease me. I just want to settle this mess. Help me. I will never forget your kindness. Liu Li rolled her eyes. It's not impossible for me to help. I won't hold it against you for blowing me up last time. But I only have one request. You don't want me to ask about the 170 million, right? No matter how slow-witted Qin Guang was, he should have guessed the situation. If it had been in the past, he would have been so distressed that he would have wanted to fight Liu Li to the death. But now he was not so short of money. He could still bear the loss of 170 million yuan. Although it was still painful, he had to accept it. You're smart. Liu Li nodded contentedly. All right. I won't ask any more. Actually, I knew that you, the Divine Emperor's financial butler, wasn't reliable from the television dramas you watched. You're still talking. You're still exposing my scars. I won't talk anymore. Qin Guang didn't admit it verbally. But in his heart he was cursing. A person's shamelessness was invincible. A god's shamelessness could destroy the world. If you squander, then so be it. Why is it so hard to admit a failure and mistake? You're allowed to make mistakes, but you can't let others correct you? I'm not blaming you. Looks like I have to beat you up today. Damn it. How could I forget that she can hear my cursing in my heart? But Lioli didn't go too far. She was just scaring him. When Qin Guang came out of the world in the cup, he coughed lightly. His voice had changed back to the perfect Qin Yu voice. All right. He took a deep breath. The world-class acting was on again. Forget it. I'll forcefully hypnotize myself first. Thinking about it carefully, weren't most of the actresses in Peking opera played by the teachers? That was called art. It was called creation. I treated it as a play, a movie. Today I'm going to act as a handsome T who likes girls. Art comes from life. Life is the highest level of art. Although I'm not standing on the stage nor am I singing Peking opera, my life is a play. A play is like life. Thinking about it this way, he felt at ease. Then he prepared to open the door. But just as his hand touched the doorknob, he quickly retracted it and hid behind the door. Jiang Yage and Jin Shiyue's voices came from outside. He didn't know why Jiang Yage came out with Jin Shiyue the moment she went in. Sister Shiyue, you're really something. Why are you drinking wine? It's not good for your throat. You don't have a high tolerance for alcohol. Jiang Yage rebuked Jin Shiyue. Lin Jingwei drank alone with Bai Hua. He can't take it anymore. I saw that he was pitiful, so I wanted to help him finish off some of the beer. I didn't expect that I couldn't take it anymore. I only drank 1.5 bottles and my head is already dizzy. Jin Shiyue's voice sounded a little drunk. Hey, why do you care about them? With Qin Guang around, they won't be in trouble no matter how much they drink. You don't know his martial arts. It's amazing. Didn't you say he had something to do and left first? Yes. But if something really happens, I'll call him and ask him to come back. The two chatted as they walked away. They were preparing to go to the toilet to vomit for a while. Qin Guang wasn't in a hurry to go out. He planned to wait until the two returned to their room. After waiting for 3 or 4 minutes, their voices came from outside again. Chapter 1000. Sister Shiyue, stand steady. Sai brother Bai is bewitched today. Don't blame Bai Hua. I can see that he is sincere towards Miss Qin Yu. We should be happy for him that he can find happiness. Forget it, let's not talk about this. Let's go vomit some more. You didn't even vomit before you retched. No, it's okay. A little beer is not a big deal. Qin Guang had goosebumps all over his body. It would be a miracle if he could find happiness. Just as he was thinking about it, he heard a few drunken voices coming from outside. Brother Xiang, walk steadily. You've drunk too much today. No? It's okay. It's nothing. I'm in a good mood today. Brothers, drink as much as you want. You must drink as much as you want. If I don't drink to empty my pockets, it's you guys who don't give me face. Qin Guang frowned. At this time, Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage haven't entered the private room yet, but the drunkard's voice came from the other side. If they were to bump into him, he's afraid that something bad will happen. They came in a hurry and didn't ask Lu Chao for the most private room. There were too many people in the common area. Hopefully nothing bad will happen. Blarg. My God. Are you blind, woman? Damn it. Perhaps it's because of what she was afraid of. Jin Shiyue's footsteps were unstable and she bumped into another drunk person. The two brushed shoulders and Jin Shiyue accidentally stepped on Brother Xiang's foot. Then she quickly retracted her leg in a daze and leaned towards Brother Xiang's direction. How could Jiang Yage watch her being taken advantage of? She quickly put her arms around her waist from behind and dragged her back. She squeezed her stomach. Well, it was a big deal. Jin Shiyue had been retching in the washroom for a while and didn't vomit anything out. Now, she vomited everything out and landed on Brother Xiang's shiny leather shoes. Qin Guang heard the noise outside. Although he didn't see what was happening, he knew that things were going to be bad. He couldn't care less about hiding. He pushed the door open and was about to go out, but it was already noisy outside. Brother Xiang had vomited all over his shoes, and a lot of it had even drifted onto his trousers. Even though he was drunk, the first thing he smelled was a lingering sour smell, and he was instantly enraged. After all, Jin Shiyue had eaten at the Fish Manor tonight, so it was only natural for her to have some seafood on her. When she felt nauseous just now, everyone subconsciously leaned forward, trying not to get any of it on themselves. They could only let others suffer. Even the goddess's vomit stinks. You stupid woman. You're courting death. As soon as Qin Guang walked out, he saw Brother Xiang scolding and reaching out to push Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage. His eyes narrowed and he didn't want to be polite. Although my people accidentally vomited on you, I understand that you're angry. But I'm sorry, I don't stand on the side of reason. I'll teach you a lesson first and then we'll talk about compensation. I can't just watch Jin Shuiwei get hurt, can I? Stop. Although he planned to give Brother Xiang a fierce blow, the distance was too far, and he was afraid that he wouldn't make it in time. Chen Guang thought that he had to restrain himself since he was disguised as Chen Yu. He was worried that if he used too much power, the makeup on his face would be shattered. Therefore he decided to gain the upper hand by a show of strength. As he shouted, he quickly approached, intending to use his fierce voice and expression to shock the other party psychologically. But as soon as he opened his voice, he realized that something was wrong. My lion's roar, full of vigor, is gone. It was a woman's voice. It was clear, loud, and slightly sharp, with 3 points of charm and 7 points of heroism. If one had to describe it as hearing the voice before seeing the person at this time, when people heard Chen Guang's voice, they could picture a heroic and icy beauty in their minds. Although it still sounded quite domineering, it didn't feel right at all. Chen Yu first shocked himself, and he had goosebumps all over his body as if he had been electrocuted. But he still achieved his goal. Brother Xiang was stunned for a moment, and his hand that wanted to push Jin Shuiwei slowed down. Jiang Yage quickly pulled Jin Shuiwei back a step, keeping a distance. She was not afraid of trouble, but her and Jin Shuiwei's identity was not ordinary after all. It would not be good to have a conflict with someone in the club. Now that she saw Chen Guang come out, her heart was completely at ease and she subconsciously shouted, "Chen Guang? A sister Yu? Sister Chen Yu, why are you here?" Jiang Yage almost scared herself to death and she almost said the wrong name. Fortunately, Sister Shuiwei was a little drunk and she should not have reacted. Chen Guang was also scared by Jiang Yage's dragging voice, and he almost died in the hands of his stupid teammate. Brother Xiang turned his head and looked in Chen Guang's direction. Then he looked back at Jiang Yage and Jin Shuiwei, who were hiding their faces in the corner, and raised his eyebrows. "What? You guys are together? You want me to stop?" Seeing that Brother Xiang had stabilized, Chen Guang slowly walked over and stood before Brother Xiang. At any rate, Chen Guang had a height of 1.8 meters, and he was half a head taller than Brother Xiang even if he was only wearing a flat-bottomed New Balance. "Yes, I'm asking you to stop. It's not a big deal. My friend is a little drunk and it's her fault for puking on you. I'll apologize to you on behalf of her. Give her face and let's forget about this matter. How about it?" As Chen Guang spoke, he quietly shielded Jiang Yage and Jin Shuiwei behind him. Jin Shuiwei was still a little worried, but Jiang Yage had already begun to worry about Brother Xiang and the others. "God bless you guys, don't be too pretentious or someone will really die." "Face? Who are you? How much face do you have? Do you know how much a pair of Brother Xiang's pants cost? Do you know the brand of Brother Xiang's shoes? Can you afford it?" Before Brother Xiang could speak, his follower behind him jumped out first, pointing at Chen Guang's nose and shouting. Chen Guang's face turned cold. He thought to himself that he was not any better than the Miao father and son. Since the fruit of face didn't work and he couldn't reason with them, he could only talk with his fists. So, he quietly took his right hand out of the pocket of his professional business suit pants that he had just changed into. Jiang Yage saw that the situation was not good, and quickly held his hand from behind. Otherwise, the finger of this man who was pointing at Chen Guang would be broken. Brother Xiang was not easy to deal with. He lifted his leg and with one hand held by his follower, he pointed at his trouser leg and said fiercely, "Stop talking nonsense and lick it clean." In an instant, the air in the club's corridor, which was originally heated by the heater, suddenly became 2 degrees colder. Jiang Yage saw that the situation was not good, and she couldn't care less about supporting Jin Shuiwei anymore. She quickly hugged Chen Guang from behind. She didn't speak, but Chen Guang understood what she meant. He took a deep breath and suppressed his anger. "Let people go when possible. Don't go too far. I can afford your trousers and shoes, no matter how expensive they are. As for now, you'd better restrain yourself." Brother Xiang had a temper, but Chen Guang had an even bigger temper. Not only did he have a temper, but he also had the confidence. "Yo, you are a big shot." Brother Xiang was so angry that he laughed. "What? You think I don't dare to teach you a lesson just because you are a woman? Damn. Who the hell thinks that they are a woman? You better be more serious." "Don't. Sister Chen Yu, calm down. Chen Yu, calm down." Jiang Yage hurriedly pulled him back, but Chen Guang didn't dare to break free, for fear that he would hurt Jiang Yage. Brother Xiang didn't know that he had said something wrong and poked a hornet's nest. Instead, his eyes fell on Jiang Yage. The lighting in the corridor was poor, and Jiang Yage and Jin Shuiwei kept hiding their faces so he couldn't see them clearly. At this moment, Jiang Yage was hugging Chen Guang tightly from behind, and accidentally exposed her face to the light coming from the corridor. Finally, Brother Xiang and the rest could see her face clearly. No one knew who was the first to shout out. Jiang Yage. Oh my god. The other one also looks a bit like Jin Shuiwei. We actually met a celebrity here? Celebrity? So what if she's a celebrity? Do you think a celebrity can just puke all over me and then leave? When ordinary people saw a celebrity, their first reaction was surprise. Their second reaction was to ask for an autograph and a photo. Brother Xiang's reaction was a little different from ordinary people. He licked his lips and there was a hint of lust in his eyes. It was a cliché again. Alcohol makes people brave. He was not a good guy to begin with, and now he was 60% drunk and 40% angry. He felt that he had something on the celebrity, so he couldn't let go of such a good opportunity. Then what do you want? Qin Guang was held back by Jiang Yage. His pair of sharp eyebrows that Jiang Yage had drawn were raised, and he looked at Brother Xiang coldly. Brother Xiang looked at Qin Guang again and smacked his lips. The friends of a celebrity are really different. They are also so beautiful. Forget it. I, Xiang Yangming, am a respected figure in the 5 capitals. How about this, the 3 of you accompany us to the private room over there for a drink, and then each of you sing a song. Then we'll let this matter go. As Xiang Yangming said that, he looked at Qin Guang and Jiang Yage and Jin Shuiwei behind him. Although he said that it was easy for them to drink a glass of wine and sing a song, if they really entered his private room, those delicate girls would not have the final say. As an insider, Qin Guang knew what this guy was thinking as soon as he saw his eyes. He sighed and slowly pulled Jiang Yage's hand down. Don't stop me. I can't let this matter go. Jiang Yage was hesitant. She was also very unhappy with Xiang Yangming, but she felt that Jin Shuiwei was in the wrong in the first place. There were too many people in this place, so she still wanted to make the big things small and the small things small. Xiang Yangming's followers also understood what their master meant. Although they felt that it was a little inappropriate, they also started to make a fuss. That's right. Can a celebrity bully others? Even a celebrity has to be reasonable. Since it's a matter of drinking, let's settle it on the table. We won't go overboard. Qin Guang was very annoyed and turned around to glare at them. Forget it. I've given you some color and you're starting a dye shop? I'm not going to apologize to you today. What are you going to do? When he heard this, he felt so uncomfortable and wanted to die. Never in my wildest dreams would I have thought that there would come a day when I would call myself an old lady in my lifetime. My heart is in so much pain. D*MN. Beat this pretentious B*TC. Xiang Yangming was stunned for a moment before he went berserk. He raised his hand and threw a punch at Qin Guang's face. Jiang Yage was afraid that Qin Guang would fight back, so she hugged him tightly and tried to pull him back. She was not afraid that Qin Guang would be hit. Xiang Yangming's followers were the same. They stepped out from both sides. Everyone was drunk. Who was afraid of who? Young Master Xiang had never been afraid of anything in the 5 capitals. A strong dragon cannot suppress a snake in its own territory. At this moment, the door of the private room behind Xiang Yangming, which was the room where Lin Jingwei and Bai Hua were, suddenly opened. Lin Jingwei was pulling at the back desperately. Brother Bai, don't. A white shadow rushed out from the room like a tiger. Bai Hua's eyes were bloodshot. He roared and broke free from Lin Jingwei's control. He held a Carlsberg bottle in his hand and jumped up. *CKU. You're asking for it. He came out too suddenly and his attack was too fast and too fierce. The security guard who had just arrived was stunned. The bottle made a full arc in the air and landed on the back of Xiang Yangming's head. Bam. This time it was a headshot. Chapter 1001. What gentlemanly demeanor. What natural and unrestrained manner. It was all gone. At this moment, Bai Hua's mind was completely blank. The moment he opened the door and saw the man waving his fist at Chen Yu, he had lost all consciousness. He didn't care about anything and forgot his identity. No one would believe that the young vice president of Tianjin Energy, a rising superstar in the domestic financial industry, who became famous at a young age but had the demeanor of a general, was the first financial prince of Wuxia, a super-eligible bachelor, handsome and elegant CEO Bai. He was actually jealous of someone in a KTV club and cracked open the other party's head with a raise of his hand. In the end, Xiang Yangming's fist didn't hit Qin Guang's face. After a miserable howl, he covered his head and fell to the ground. Blood flowed out from the gaps between his fingers. The air froze for a moment. Xiang Yangming's followers were completely panicked. After a short moment of silence, the passageway was in complete chaos. F*CK your mother. F*CK him. Beat him up. Beat him to death. Avenge Brother Xiang. Brother Xiang, calm down. Calm down. Brother Xiang, what's wrong? Are you okay? Xiang Yangming's followers shouted and turned around to find trouble with Bai Hua. Although Bai Hua was a young master that relied on his brain to make a living, he had trained his body regularly so he could take a beating. Relying on the courage brought by the alcohol, he grabbed onto his head with one hand and brandished the broken bottle in the other like a machete. He roared as he charged towards Qin Guang like a mad bull, breaking through the crowd and making his way towards Qin Guang. When he stood up, there were countless footprints on his white suit. His face had also been punched a few times. He looked very embarrassed. Blood was oozing out of the corner of his mouth. His lips were probably cracked. As for the hand that was holding the broken bottle, it was also stained with blood. It was unknown whether it was Xiang Yangming's, or if he had cut someone's hand when he rushed over, or if his fingers had accidentally touched the glass. Miss Qinyu, don't be afraid. I'm here. Bai Hua grinned at the dumbfounded Qin Guang, then turned around and waved his arms wildly. Come. Who dares to come up? Do you know who I am? I am Bai Hua. I'm the Vice President of Skyline Energy, Bai Hua. Bai Hua waved his hand so fiercely that the bottle in his hand almost scratched Lin Jingwei, who had rushed in behind him. Brother Xiaobai, are you drunk? Lin Jingwei was having a headache. Of course he knew what Qin Guang was capable of. In fact, he had wanted to stay in the room with Bai Hua and watch Qinyu act tough. However, things didn't go according to his wishes. He had let Bai Hua rush out while he was distracted, and in the blink of an eye, the situation had reached a point where it couldn't be resolved. Just as Lin Jingwei was roaring, someone kicked his lower back ruthlessly, and he fell forward with his back facing upwards. On the other side, Xiang Yangming was protected by two men and hid behind them. When he saw the blood on his hands, he roared hysterically and pointed at Bai Hua. Beat him. Beat him to death. Don't be afraid. If someone dies, I'll take responsibility. Beat him to death. What, Bai Hua? I've never heard of him. The underling supporting him was a little flustered. Brother Xiang, this is... Xiang Yangming roared again. Damn it. So what if he's a celebrity? Aren't celebrities just high-class prostitutes? Although I lost an uncle, a skinny camel is still bigger than a horse. I don't believe that I can't even afford to offend a celebrity. Do it. With Xiang Yangming's assurance, his underlings became more courageous. One of them, who looked particularly sturdy, finally saw the opportunity and grabbed Bai Hua's right hand that was holding the bottle. He twisted it hard. Bai Hua felt pain in his hand and his fingers loosened. The bottle fell from his palm. The guy clenched his left fist and punched Bai Hua's face. The man was still mumbling, "White birch? Who the F***ck knows who Bai Hua is? How dare you hurt Brother Xiang? If you don't break one of your arms and legs, don't even think about leaving 5 Jing." Bai Hua looked very powerful, but when it came to fighting he only had a few punches and kicks. How could he be a match for Xiang Yangming's professional underlings? This kind of street fight looked fierce at first, but in the blink of an eye, it would be bad luck if the other party stabilized their footing. In the passageway behind Xiang Yangming's underlings, the club's security guards were still squeezing forward. Although they didn't know the identity of this Bai Hua, since he could come with a celebrity, he was most likely not a small figure. However, young Master Xiang's family was a wealthy family in 5 Jing, so they couldn't afford to offend him. He had bled in the club, so they had to give him an explanation. Thus, they pretended to charge forward, pretending to maintain order, but in reality they did not actually make a move. Perhaps they would wait for Bai Hua to lose at least one of his arms or his face to bleed a little before they would actually try to maintain order. When a fight broke out in such a mixed place as the landlord, the best thing to do was to find a balance. Otherwise, it would be hard for them to explain themselves in the future. Bai Hua looked at the fist that was getting closer and closer. There was a sharp pain in his hand, but he was drunk and felt less pain. Instead of being afraid, he was only worried about the 3 women behind him. He hated that he didn't bring any bodyguards with him today. Otherwise this wouldn't have happened. He hated himself for being incompetent. If he and Lin Jingwei were completely defeated, the 3 women behind them would definitely suffer. He gritted his teeth and exerted all his strength, intending to break his right hand even if it was dislocated or even broken. His heart was filled with killing intent. As long as I don't die here today, I don't care what kind of background young Master Xiang has. I, Bai Hua, will do whatever it takes to make your whole family pay a price that you can't afford. Although he was the real first young master of China and the apple of the eyes of countless old men in Yanjing, because of his personal cultivation and character, He almost never used his status to act like a tyrant. Instead, he was kind to others. But this time, for the sake of his beloved woman, he decided to make an exception. He was going to kill. He even secretly regretted it. In this world, people don't respect you just because you are kind to others. If he had made the first move earlier, he wouldn't have been so low-key. He could have made a name for himself in the circle of the crown princes in China, which would be more in line with his identity. Who would dare to touch his people then? Lin Jingwei was still leaning forward, the sound of wind whistling behind his head. He knew that someone was holding something unknown in their hands, planning to give him a hard time from behind. But he wasn't nervous at this time. Instead, he looked helplessly at Qin Guang in front of him. In fact, from the moment when Bai Hua rushed out, he had already made eye contact with Qin Guang. He had been signaling Qin Guang with his eyes and shaking his head. He wanted to control the situation and not let it get out of hand. He was very clear about Qin Guang's methods. Once Qin Guang made a move, many of the people here would at least have their arms and legs broken. If they were unlucky, they might really die. Lin Jingwei and Jiang Yage had the same idea. He didn't want Qin Guang to make a move, but now it seemed that he really couldn't. The situation was out of control. Sigh. A long sigh came from the mouth of Qin Yu, who was behind Bai Hua. Inexplicably, the originally noisy passageway became completely quiet in an instant. Time seemed to freeze at this moment. The fist of the strong man holding Bai Hua stopped about 0.5 centimeters in front of Bai Hua's nose. Bai Hua's hand, which was about to be forcibly broken by himself, also stopped. The joints on his shoulder fiercely bulged to the side, but stopped at the point where it was about to break. Behind Lin Jingwei's head, an iron chair stopped about 3 centimeters away from the back of his head. Xiang Yangming's finger, which was still pointing at Bai Hua, was quietly suspended in mid-air. The security guards who pretended to stop them, but were actually paying attention to the situation here, were still staring at them with wide eyes. Jiang Yage and Jin Shirui were still hiding behind Qin Guang. But Jiang Yage had already let go of Qin Guang's hand. She wanted to pass Qin Guang and rush forward to help Bai Hua, even though it was useless. Jin Shirui was a little further behind. She also wanted to rush forward with a pale face. But when Qin Yu sighed, they couldn't move. At this time, only the clock on the wall at the end of the aisle was still ticking. The second hand was moving forward bit by bit, proving that time had not really stopped. Infinite fear and confusion rose in the hearts of everyone except Jiang Yage and Lin Jingwei. They felt as if their bodies had sunk into a quagmire, unable to move at all. Their limbs and bones had no strength at all, as if their blood had been sucked dry. Their bodies and skin seemed to be wrapped in a layer of steel armor, trapping them inside. Hey, don't force me. Qin Guang sighed again and took a step forward. Jiang Yage, Jin Shirui, Bai Hua and Lin Jingwei were the first to break free. Qin Guang didn't say much to the others. He stretched out his hand and threw Lin Jingwei and Bai Hua behind him. He turned around and shrugged indifferently. All of you stand still. Stop messing around. After saying that, Qin Guang glared at Jiang Yage. It's all your fault. You shouldn't have stopped me from the beginning. How could it have ended up like this? At this time he still had Qin Yu's voice. He had completely entered the personality of a cold goddess. When talking to Bai Hua, his tone had an unapproachable tone. When talking to Lin Jingwei it was a little softer, but when talking to the cute Jiang Yage, it was inexplicably doting and reproachful. Jiang Yage stuck out her tongue mischievously. She pulled Lin Jingwei and Bai Hua aside and said, I know I was wrong. I thought I could reason with them. If reason was really that easy, then the father and son wouldn't have died. Chapter 1002. As Qin Guang spoke, he raised his hand and placed it flat in front of the forehead of the brawny man who had previously pinched Bai Hua's arm. Qin Guang's fingers tightened, and then he flicked his fingernail on the man's forehead. It looked gentle, but in fact, it was as heavy as 1,000 pounds. The moment Qin Guang flicked his fingertip, the dust that was floating everywhere in the air and trapping the man instantly went out of control. The internal force that had stagnated the blood in the man's body was also withdrawn. As if hit by a heavy hammer, the man flew back at least 5 or 6 meters, knocking over a bunch of people along the way. Then he landed heavily on the stunned Xiang Yangming. Qin Guang did not stop there. He moved on to the next man and continued to flick their foreheads with his fingertip. Bang, 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 bang. It was like the sound of someone hitting a wall with a hammer. One after another, more and more people fell on Xiang Yangming, piling on him like a human pyramid. Finally, the last of Xiang Yangming's followers was piled on top of the pile of people. 7 or 8 people were piled up at least a meter high in the aisle. Xiang Yangming was almost out of breath, and only his head and most of his right palm were exposed. He was hit again and again, and there was a sharp pain in his ribs. At least 3 of his ribs were broken. However, this wasn't what terrified and despairing him the most. It was this tall woman, who was stepping on his right hand with an indifferent expression. Then, she stood on her heel and stepped on the fingers with her toes. No, I beg you, don't. Xiang Yangming finally knew fear. No matter what kind of background the other party had, he could tell from the other party's inexplicable means that he had kicked an iron plate today, and it was the kind of iron plate made of alloy steel that made people despair. Now you know to beg for mercy? Weren't you very arrogant just now? I heard that you want us to drink with you? And sing for you? No, I'm just kidding. Kidding? Do you think I'm stupid? No, you're going to take responsibility if someone dies? Tell me, how are you going to take responsibility? Big sister, I beg you, don't do that. Xiang Yangming had never been so afraid of a person before. He finally understood that when he was under someone else's roof, he had to lower his head. You stinking bitch, I'll let you be happy for now, but don't let me get the chance later. Xiang Yangming would never have thought that his begging for mercy would not work at all. Instead, it would only make Qin Guang angrier. Even though Qin Guang had played the role of a handsome tank and he was already in character, the anger in his subconscious was even harder to control. He stepped harder on Xiang Yangming's finger. It hurts. My father is the chairman of Xiang Group, Xiang Guorong. I can compensate you however much you want. Qin Guang frowned slightly. He was a little familiar with the name Xiang Guorong, but he couldn't remember where he had heard it. Finally, an old matter popped up from the depths of his mind. What's your relationship with Xiang Guoming? Xiang Guoming from Xiang Family International. Xiang Yangming thought he had met an acquaintance of his uncle and was overjoyed. Xiang Guoming is my uncle. They were on the same side. Qin Guang suddenly understood. Because of Wang Ren and Su Lijing, Xiang Family International collapsed, and Xiang Guoming was put in prison and sentenced to death. Later, he had inquired about it and found out that Xiang Guoming's death sentence had been carried out. However, at that time, he had yet to ascend to the position of the director of the Directorate of Light, so his power was not monstrous. The higher-ups did not completely annihilate the Xiang family and only targeted Xiang Guoming. His brothers and sisters still retained a lot of economic strength. Xiang Family International changed from a multinational company to the current Xiang Group. The scale of the company was greatly reduced, but after all, a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. The Xiang family could still be regarded as a wealthy family in the 5 capitals. We were on the same side? I do know Xiang Guoming, but he is not on the same side. I am. Oh no, my younger brother is Qin Guang. Do you understand? Xiang Yangming's eyes widened. The name Qin Guang was indeed a lingering nightmare for the Xiang family. They hated him to the bone but feared him like a tiger. Xiang Guoming was just a little careless and got involved in the battle between Su Lijing and him. In the end, he ended up dying. In the eyes of the Xiang family, although Xiang Guoming was wrong, he did not deserve to die. Of course, they were not satisfied and wanted revenge, but they did not dare. When Xiang Guoming was thoroughly investigated, helping Su Lijing hire assassins to kill people was only one of the crimes. What really sentenced him to death were the other crimes he committed when he was making his fortune, and he was punished for all these crimes. The Xiang family decided to bear with it. After all, the most powerful uncle in the family had fallen. What else could they do? Continue to try to break a rock with an egg? After the incident, they could only hide from Qin Guang. But Xiang Yangming would never have guessed that this was a real sin. He might be able to dodge Qin Guang's attack, but he wouldn't be able to dodge it forever. He managed to dodge Qin Guang's attack, but he ended up bumping into his elder sister. Now it seemed that Qin Guang's identity as a commoner was just a cover. How could an ordinary family raise such a woman? Qin Guang had no background. This was the biggest scam of the century. Why am I so unlucky? Also, the people behind you are all Qin Guang's friends. Don't you know that? Xiang Yangming's mouth opened wider and wider. His drunkenness finally dissipated. The memory that he had deliberately ignored came back to him. Yes, Jin Shirui and Jiang Yage were Qin Guang's friends. So today is your bad day. Crack. As soon as Qin Guang's voice fell, he exerted force on the tip of his foot. Xiang Yangming's fingers made a cracking sound. It was hard to tell if they were completely broken or cracked. In any case, the extreme pain made him lose consciousness. A heart-wrenching scream came from his mouth. When Qin Guang loosened his foot, Xiang Yangming's palm was completely deformed from the pressure. The attendants who were still on top of him all felt pain for him and felt their teeth ache. At this time, Lu Chao's security guards finally regained their mobility. They looked at each other, not knowing what to do. At this time, a loud noise came from the other end of the aisle. Lu Chao, who had brought his construction company here for a meeting, heard about the dispute and hurried over. Qin Guang loosened his grip on everyone, and the wall of people slid down. Almost everyone had a concussion and almost everyone had broken bones. Xiang Yangming's injuries were the heaviest. He was squashed here and there, howling in pain. Lu Chao looked inside and saw Bai Hua, Jiang Yage, Jin Shiriyue and Lin Jingwei in the crowd. There was also a tall woman with a cold face. Director Bai. Are you okay? Miss Jean, Miss Jiang, Mr. Lin, I'm sorry I'm late. Are you all okay? Director Bai, your mouth. Oh my god. Bastard. What kind of people are these? Tie them up. Bai Hua was beaten up in his own territory. Lu Chao broke out in cold sweat. Xiang Yangming was still screaming on the ground. His lackey struggled to sit up. Oh. Director Lu, this is Xiang Guorong's son. Xiang Guorong? Son. Lu Chao hesitated for a moment, then waved his hand. I don't care what son you are. You don't know how big of a mess you've made. Xiang Yangming, right? Uncle Lu, I'm Xiang Yangming. Xiang Yangming saw that his savior had arrived. He endured the pain and said, It's me. Shut up. Who's your uncle? You better call your father, Xiang Guorong, and ask him to come over and apologize. Tell him that you beat up Tianjin Energy's Bai Hua. He knows what to do. Xiang Yangming saw that Lu Chao had cut all ties with him. How could he not understand that he had not only offended Qin Guang's sister, but it seemed that the person who called himself Bai Hua really had a powerful background. But my hand. Xiang Yangming wanted to use his own miserable state to find some balance. But it was useless. Lu Chao turned around and spat on his face. Don't worry. If Director Bai doesn't calm down, you might have to break something else later. Lu Chao ignored him and turned to Qin Guang, Bai Hua and the others. He nodded and bowed. Director Bai, it's all my fault. Oh no, it's my people's fault. They should have notified me the moment you arrived. If I had invited you to room number 1, this wouldn't have happened. Why don't we change places now? Then I won't have to see these useless people. Don't worry, I, Lu Chao, am responsible for what happened today. I will definitely give you an explanation. Jiang Yage saw that Qin Guang didn't say anything. She was worried that he was going to kill them all. Because of her, Qin Guang had already started a massacre in Baishui County. Although the father and son of the Bao family had their own reasons for seeking death, Jiang Yage didn't want Qin Guang to continue killing because of her and Jin Shiriyue. Although she didn't believe in karma, it wasn't good to kill people, especially with one's own hands. Jiang Yage thought of the Wuxia movie she had acted in before. There were such characters. Because of their reckless killing, they gradually sank into their inner demons. In the end, they went berserk and became a big devil that everyone in the pugilistic world wanted to kill. Now, Qin Guang was an authentic martial artist. Although Jiang Yage didn't know martial arts, she was also worried. So she quickly came out from the side and hugged Qin Guang's hand tightly in front of her chest. Then she tiptoed and whispered in Qin Guang's ear, all right, let's go. There's Chief Lu here to take care of things. The Xiang guy knows how powerful he is. If it really doesn't work, I'll get Brother Bai to deal with them later. Don't mess around. Jin Shiriyue, who had a telepathic connection with Jiang Yage, also came over from the other side. She wasn't that familiar with Qin Yu, so her actions were relatively reserved. However, she still held on to Qin Guang's other hand. Solomon is right. We don't have to stay here. Everything was fine today. Qin Guang looked at Lin Jingwei. Lin Jingwei understood and supported Bai Hua, who had sobered up quite a bit. He said in a low voice, let's go up first. Brother Bai, don't you have something to say to Qin Yu? If it was before, Bai Hua would have said something harsh to Xiang Yangming. But now he couldn't open his mouth. He was very embarrassed. As a man, he didn't seem to be of any help. Instead, he was beaten up. His identity didn't matter when others didn't recognize him. In the end, it was because of Qin Yu that they didn't suffer. For a man, this was too shameful. If he said something harsh at this time, wouldn't it be like he was borrowing Qin Yu's power to intimidate others? Okay. Bai Hua lowered his head and sighed. Lu Chao called for Qin Guang and the others to go upstairs. Jiang Yage tightly held onto Qin Guang the whole time, looking like a helpless little bird. The incident was over, and Bai Hua and Lin Jingwei didn't suffer any big losses. Although it was a big deal in Jiang Yage's eyes, it really wasn't a big deal. Ever since she and Jean Shuriwei were young, there had been countless rich second generations who had been punished for similar situations. She was used to it. After a few steps, she became playful again. She tightly clung to Chen Guang, and her hands were especially dishonest. She hugged his waist and pulled his hand to her waist. She crazily took advantage of him and crazily gave him sex. Seeing Jiang Ye's unreserved appearance, Jean Shuriwei wanted to say something but didn't. In the end, she didn't say anything. As for Chen Guang, he didn't have any self-control at this time. He was still in the identity that he had set for himself. It just so happened that Jiang Ye was a cute little beauty that matched Chen Yu's criteria for choosing a partner. Since he wanted Bai Hua to give up today, he might as well make him despair from now on. As for little Linzi, who knew the inside story, he would think of a way to trick him later. Therefore, Chen Guang's hand boldly placed on Jiang Ye's butt, pinching and touching it. Jiang Ye's body stiffened for a moment, and then became even softer. She almost buried her head in Chen Guang's chest. Bai Hua, who was walking to the side, secretly saw this scene and felt his heart ache. Chapter 1003. Before this, although he had always been rejected, he had never thought of giving up. Bai Hua never considered himself to be an arrogant person. His confidence was built on the achievements he had made since he was young, and it was not without roots. But this time he was really in despair. In the past, he had heard some ordinary friends chatting and joking about how different genders could be in love. At that time, he had only thought of it as a joke on the internet. But when it really happened to him, it was quite hopeless. Today, his confidence was about to be destroyed. In front of Chen Yu, he had no sense of superiority, and he was even inferior to an ordinary person. Although she had returned to start her own business, it proved that she might also value money, but what she valued was the money and value created by herself, and not other people's money. Compared to money and power, she wanted to realize the value of her life through her own efforts. Otherwise, no one would have been able to resist the temptation of the position of senior consultant of Tianjin Energy. Extremely high power, a high salary, and access to all the top figures in the domestic business world. This was a position that could save people 20 years of detours, and it would also receive her full support. But she was not tempted at all. She did not even bat an eyelid as she completely rejected it. Until now, Bai Hua had not found out what Chen Yu was doing through any channels. With his influence in the Chinese business world, this was almost impossible. Then there was only one explanation. Chen Yu was still doing something unknown. Perhaps she had set up an unknown small company, or she was holding a small position in another company. She was really too special, too unique, too different. She had a perfect face, an impeccable temperament, and a strong heart that was absolutely pure and unmoved by external things. She was like a snow lotus on an iceberg that stood proudly at the top of a mountain. She would not easily stop for any roadside scenery. She would only care about what she wanted to care about, and she would only walk along the path that she wanted to live. She had a high level of intelligence, and could easily learn a small foreign language like Arabic more thoroughly than the well-known professors in the country. She also had incredible skills, and was even stronger than those martial artists that he had heard about from his elders. She was so perfect that it would only make people feel inferior. Wait, I should have thought of this earlier. She was Chen Guang's older sister. Although Chen Guang's personality was very easygoing, no one could deny his incredible talent. That guy seemed to be invincible in everything he did. It was even said that he had become the undisputed #1 expert in martial arts. How could his sister, who was born from the same womb as him, be an ordinary person? Although the personalities of the siblings were as different as heaven and earth, the genes in their bones should be the same. White birch. In her eyes, perhaps it was just a pile of useless mud mixed in the secular world. Bai Hua, who was full of thoughts, walked slower and slower. Unknowingly he fell behind. He raised his head and looked straight ahead. Chen Yu and Jiang Ye were acting more and more intimately. He gently clutched his chest, feeling as if there was a stone weighing 1,000 kilograms inside. His legs felt as heavy as lead and his breathing became heavy. It was as if someone had lit a fire in his lungs. He even wanted to turn around and run away from this place. He tried everything he could think of and finally he saw her. But when this person really stood in front of him, he realized that it was not a happy thing. The closer one was to hope, the easier it was to feel despair. Just like a prisoner who had been sentenced to death, since he had no hope of living, he always hoped that the death sentence would be carried out as soon as possible. But when he really faced the black muzzle of a gun, even the most vicious criminal would instantly feel great fear. Lin Jingwei noticed Bai Hua's abnormality and quietly slowed down. He followed beside him and supported him a little. Although Qin Guang's back was facing this direction, under the cover of the true martial divine technique, all the minute changes around him could be seen by the mind's eye. He also knew Bai Hua's abnormality. Things had turned out this way and he couldn't say that he was completely at ease. After all, he owed Bai Hua a lot. But there would never be an answer to this kind of thing. As the saying goes, a short pain is better than a long one. There was no point in continuing to dawdle, so he might as well give him a quick death. Everyone moved to the number 1 private room, which had already been arranged by Lu Chao to be properly tidied up. Bai Hua deliberately distanced himself from Qin Yu, Jiang Yage and Jin Shiyue, and sat far away in the corner. He didn't say a word, nor did he have the mood to order songs. It was as if he had put on a layer of black coat, covering his whole body. Lin Jingwei sat beside him, not knowing how to comfort him. He felt that there was no need for him to do this. Seeing Bai Hua sinking deeper and deeper, Lin Jingwei secretly tried to dissuade him or comfort him in various ways. There were plenty of fish in the sea, so why did you have to be so infatuated? But it was useless. No matter what he said, it was useless. Even when Lin Jingwei tried to greet some of his fair-weather friends in Beijing, asking them to think of ways to bring Bai Hua into contact with some of the so-called socialites, wanting to lead Bai Hua astray, it was useless. Because of this matter, many of the second and third generations in Beijing were blacklisted by Bai Hua. Lin Jingwei also offended many people, causing many complaints. If he wasn't Lin Jingwei, he would have been dragged out and chopped into pieces. As the days passed, Bai Hua sank deeper and deeper, and Lin Jingwei didn't dare to be honest with him. In fact, he felt even more guilty than Qin Guang, and the pressure was even greater. He felt that he was the main culprit. Lin Jingwei also knew that there was no problem with Qin Guang's decision, and he couldn't let things continue like this. Even if it was painful, he had to face it. Lin Jingwei didn't dare to imagine what would happen if Bai Hua found out that Qin Yu was Qin Guang in disguise. This would definitely destroy Brother Xiaobai completely. He might even go crazy. I hope Brother Guang can use his last knife to deal with this matter. If it was just being rejected to the point of despair, based on his understanding of Brother Bai Hua's character, he could still take the blow. He was much stronger than ordinary people, and he was a responsible man who could shoulder the responsibility. There were so many second and third generations in China, but Bai Hua was the only one. He knew better than anyone else how high the expectations of the elders were for him. If everything went smoothly, the probability of him carrying the country on his shoulders in 30 to 40 years was no less than 30%. He had to be more mature than his peers, and he had far more hopes than the other second and third generations. At this moment there was a knock on the door. Who is it? Lin Jingwei got up and opened the door. Lu Chao stood outside and smiled. Mr. Lin, is Boss Bai here? I'm here, Boss Lu. Bai Hua slowly got up in the dark and replied in a very calm tone. Only Lin Jingwei, who had grown up with him and knew him very well, knew that he was actually crying. Lu Chao looked in Bai Hua's direction, but because the light was dim, he couldn't see his expression clearly. He could only say tentatively, Boss Bai, that Xiang Group's Xiang Guorong wants to pay a visit to you. Bai Hua waved his hand. No need, let him go. Lu Chao's body trembled slightly. He knew what the words, let him go, meant. Bai Hua had no intention of forgiving anyone, nor would he accept anyone's apology. This seemingly calm statement hid a torrential rage behind it. This made people despair more than any threat. Lu Chao, who had been on the battlefield for a long time, could smell the faint scent of blood in the air. Today's incident was Xiang Yangming's own fault. He had already paid the price of broken bones and broken hands, but it was obvious that this wasn't over. Even if Lu Chao and Xiang Guorong didn't have a deep friendship, he couldn't help but feel a faint sense of sympathy. The Xiang family of Dechuan had been defeated twice in the past year. This time it was really over. Okay, Boss Bai, I understand. Lu Chao responded and then gently closed the door. He walked out for a long time before he quietly winked at the bodyguard behind him and said in a low voice, Stop them. Boss Bai doesn't want to see them. Arrange some people to protect Boss Bai when they leave. The bodyguard nodded heavily. I understand. Qin Guang, who had been pretending to be happy and singing with Jiang Yage, was actually also quietly listening. Hearing Bai Hua's attitude, Qin Guang's mouth slightly twitched and he secretly shrugged. He also felt helpless. Although he didn't know Bai Hua very well, Qin Guang knew that he wasn't a petty person. But this time the Xiang family was really unlucky. They had probably become Bai Hua's punching bag to vent his anger and grievances. He needed an outlet for his emotions. Forget it, this was also good. Just look at Xiang Yangming and Xiang Guoming's behavior. The Xiang family wasn't good people to begin with, so they couldn't let Bai Hua suffocate to death. There was no harm in letting him vent his frustrations. If the Xiang family hadn't done evil, they probably wouldn't be in this situation today. Flies don't bite seamless eggs. It was destined that they would end up like the father and son. However, they were probably a little luckier than the father and son. At least they wouldn't be buried in the wilderness. At this moment, Bai Hua picked up the glass in front of him. This time it wasn't filled with beer but iced fruit juice. He drained it in one gulp, raised his neck slightly, took a deep breath and walked over to Qin Guang. Qin Yu looked back at him. "Are you sober?" Bai Hua nodded. "Yes, I'm awake." Jin Shiyue's finger gently tapped on the touch screen, and the music in the room quieted down. "It's good that you're awake. I heard from my brother that you wanted to see me no matter what." Qin Guang let go of Jiang Ye's hand, then stood up and stretched. He looked at Bai Hua, who was about the same size as him. Bai Hua hid his right hand behind his back and pinched his thigh. "Miss Qin Yu, I'm very sorry for causing you trouble." "There's nothing to be sorry about. I was planning to see Solomon today. If it was just your request, I didn't think it was necessary for me to come. I think I've already expressed my attitude very clearly." Bai Hua's body trembled slightly. He lowered his head. There was no longer the killing intent he had when he spoke to Lu Chao. Instead, there was only infinite loneliness. Now that he thought about it carefully, ever since he met Qin Yu, it had always been his own wishful thinking. He felt that he was a proud son of heaven, and he was also hot-blooded. No matter how cold she appeared to be at that time, her sincerity was always able to move metal and stone. He didn't think that when it came to matters of the heart, there was no such thing as reason. Having feelings was having feelings. If he didn't have feelings, even if he lowered his voice and cried bitterly like in the TV series, it was just asking for trouble. Moreover, although he was a proud son of heaven, the other party was the elder sister of a monster like Qin Guang. Considering the strength and overbearingness she showed today, she should be on the same level as Qin Guang, a goddess hanging high above the ninth heaven. In the end, I'm just a mortal. I'm not worthy of her. I understand. It's good that you understand. My immoral little brother should have already told you. As you can see, I like girls, especially girls like Grace. As he said this, Qin Guang reached out again and pulled Jiang Ye into his arms. His hands seemed to be unscrupulously rubbing against her body through her clothes. Jiang Ye's mood was also very complicated, but Qin Guang's hands seemed to have some kind of magic power. It was obviously just scratching an itch through her boots, but it still made her heart rise and fall. She couldn't help but feel weak. As an insider, Jiang Ye also knew why Qin Guang was doing this. She also felt that she couldn't let Bai Hua continue like this. No matter who it was for, she felt that she had to help Qin Guang survive today's show. So, not only did she not resist, she even took a yard after taking an inch. Lin Jingwei was so scared by this scene that he almost cried. He didn't know that Jiang Ye was actually also an insider. He thought that Jiang Ye had really fallen under the charm of Qin Yu. Lin Jingwei thought to himself, I have to say Brother Guang's papa attacks just now, coupled with this guy's godly makeup that I don't know what he's wearing on his face, coupled with this guy's insane and invincible vocal mimicry skills, even I, a person who knows the truth, almost fell for it. If it wasn't for the fact that Brother Guang's cheap smile popping up in his head, and his stomach turning upside down, Lin Jingwei felt that he might have fallen for this Qin Yu. Although Jiang Ye was a celebrity and a big shot, she was also a small woman. Although he felt that she had some feelings for Brother Guang, she didn't seem to show it clearly. Now, it seemed that she had secretly fallen in love with Qin Yu, the doppelganger of Brother Guang. It's all over. Why didn't I think of this? Is this the end of the world? Even if Brother Guang really stabbed Brother Bai Hua today, looking at Jiang Ye now, she would definitely be the next victim. Lin Jingwei quietly turned his head to look at Jin Shiyue. Another victim. He didn't know why, but he really wanted to rush up and stab Brother Guang to death with a knife in his hand. His real body had mesmerized Jin Shiyue, and his doppelganger had taken care of Jiang Ye. Did this guy really want to take all the beauties in his eyes? Bastard. Beast. Slut. Envy, jealousy, hatred. Chapter 1004. Only Bai Hua and Jin Shiyue were completely kept in the dark at this time. Jin Shiyue was also dumbfounded. She didn't understand what was going on. In her opinion, although Qin Yu was valiant and could be regarded as a strange woman who could move a woman's heart, it was clear that Solomon liked, oh no, deeply loved Qin Guang. This is incredible, This is not the Solomon's ballad I know at all. Jiang Ye's change of heart was too sudden, too violent, and Jin Shiyue was not mentally prepared. If the protagonist wasn't Bai Hua and the atmosphere wasn't right at this time, Jin Shiyue really wanted to pull Jiang Ye to the side and ask her, "What's wrong with you? Are you possessed?" Jin Shiyue couldn't help but recall the scene when she first met Qin Yu. She also remembered that at that time, she had slightly frivolously praised Jiang Ye for being cute. At that time she didn't feel anything unusual, but now that she thought about it, it was clear that she had taken a fancy to Solomon at that time. Alas, I should have reminded Solomon to guard against her. A woman's vigilance towards another woman is still too low. But at this time, Jin Shiyue couldn't say anything. She could only quietly move closer to Jiang Ye and pinch her waist with her fingers, wanting her to restrain herself. Later she would have to ask her what was going on. Jiang Ye knew what Jin Shiyue meant. She could only say sorry in her heart and think of a way to explain it to Sister Shiyue later. But this explanation wasn't very good. She couldn't say that Qin Yu was Qin Guang in disguise, could she? But if she admitted that the person she liked changed from Qin Guang to his sister, it didn't seem right. In this way, Sister Shiyue would think that she had given up on Qin Guang, but in fact she had secretly rolled the sheets with Qin Guang. Wasn't this a bit too despicable? Jiang Ye's heart twitched and she felt guilty again. Recently she had done too many shameful things. Forget it, after today's matter is over, I'll first ask Qin Guang. If he doesn't object, I'll tell Shiyue the truth about Qin Yu. She should be able to keep the secret. As for the fact that she had slept with Qin Guang, Jiang Ye had not decided whether to confess or not. She really did not have the courage. Even if she knew that there would be an explanation for this matter sooner or later, hiding it from Jin Shiyue was not a solution. She could only live with the thought that one day was one day at a time. Otherwise, should I secretly find a chance to scam Sister Shiyue? I'll drug Qin Guang, Sister Shiyue and Qin Guang and then throw them into a room? Let them cook the rice? Jiang Ye maintained her current soft state while letting her imagination run wild in her mind. She inexplicably came up with this bewitched idea. Not to mention she felt that this idea was really great. We agreed on a fair competition, but I accidentally took a step forward and pulled Sister Shiyue into a trench. Isn't that fine? Jiang Ye's heart immediately calmed down. She had completely forgotten that with Qin Guang's profound skills, where would she find a drug that could knock him down? From the beginning to the end, Bai Hua, who was standing opposite Qin Guang, quietly watched this scene. He was angry in his heart, but he understood that he actually did not have the qualifications to roar at the other party. Qin Yu did not do anything wrong, everyone was free to choose the life they wanted. Qin Yu did not owe him any favors, but he owed her. If she hadn't spoken up for him back then, he would have been tricked when he was dealing with the project in the Middle East. Tianjin Energy might have lost tens of billions of dollars, and that incident would have become a lingering stain on his glorious resume. Even today she was the one who lent a helping hand. No matter how powerful she was, even if she could annihilate the entire Xiang family as long as Lu Chao was late, she would not be able to avoid a beating. What's more, if it wasn't for Qin Yu's ability with that Xiang Yangming's madness at that time, he might have broken his arms and legs, or even died on the spot. If he died, everything would be for naught. What would be the end of the Xiang family and what would be the point? Looking at it this way, he had used the alcohol to act like a hero, but in fact he owed her a favor. I simply have no right to accuse her of anything wrong. Today I forced myself to threaten Qin Guang and demanded an answer from her. Now that she is here, the answer has been given to me. What else can I say? The greatest sorrow in the world is that you don't even have the right to be angry. Bai Hua clenched his fists tightly and his nose felt sour, but he said slowly and clearly, "Okay, I understand. It's good that you understand. I'll emphasize to you one last time that I like women. Don't bother me in the future and don't bother Qin Guang because of my matters. You're a good person and you should have your own life." As Qin Guang spoke, he patted Jiang Ye's shoulder and said, "If there's nothing else, I'll leave first. I'll come and find you another day. I'll see you out." Jiang Ye followed Qin Guang out. The two struggled for a while. Qin Guang first hid in the women's restroom, while Jiang Ye secretly took out the things from the broken bag room below. Then she ran to the women's restroom and personally helped Qin Guang remove his makeup. On the other side, after Qin Yu left, Lin Jingwei patted Bai Hua's shoulder and said, "Little brother Bai, don't be sad. Really, you shouldn't spend your energy on this kind of thing. The elders are counting on you." Bai Hua smiled bitterly and said, "I understand, but I just can't control myself." Then Bai Hua looked up at Jin Shiriyue and forced a smile and said, "I'm sorry, Shiriyue saw a joke." Jin Shiriyue was also a little distracted and said, "No. It's nothing. I think brother Bai Hua is very brave, but I can't force you." Bai Hua nodded and said, "I understand. Don't worry, I won't be defeated so easily. From tomorrow onwards I will pull myself together again." He reluctantly clenched his fists. Seeing that he seemed to have recovered a little, Lin Jingwei's heart was relieved. Thank God it's over. This *T incident is finally over. I'm so happy that you think so. Come drink some green tea to sober up. Lin Jingwei tried to liven up the atmosphere. Bai Hua took the cup from his hand and sighed again. Alas, if there is a next life, I really want to reincarnate as a woman. The green tea in Lin Jingwei's mouth sprayed all over the wall. You walked out my ass. Can you give me a way out? Not long after, Jiang Yage came back alone. Qin Guang changed his clothes and quietly hid outside the club. There was a time difference between the two. Solomon, you're back. Jin Shiriyue saw this and wanted to pull her aside to say something. Lin Jingwei was also anxious, but with Bai Hua here, he couldn't blatantly tell Jiang Yage that she can't be with Qin Yu. That must be Brother Guang himself, right? Instead, Bai Hua opened his mouth and asked, Solomon, when did you and Miss Qin Yu start? Jiang Yage's eyes quietly rolled, just now. Bai Hua, Jin Shiriyue and Lin Jingwei were all dumbfounded. What kind of damned answer was that? Although you're usually carefree, you don't seem like such a casual person. Could it be that you're not human when you're casual? Jiang Yage embarrassedly squeezed her hands. Actually, I don't know what's wrong with me. It's like I'm possessed. I stand next to her and I can't control myself. I really didn't expect a woman to be so handsome. Jiang Yage rubbed her hands, looking particularly embarrassed, and then said, In fact, I also think it's strange, but I can't help it. Brother Bai Hua, I'm sorry. In fact, I think Sister Qin Yu might be a playboy. Maybe a girl like me is her taste. Otherwise, I'll find a way to keep a distance from her, but Jiang Yage's answer almost answered all the questions that Bai Hua, Lin Jingwei, and Jin Shiriyue had. As for how to confess Qin Yu's identity to Jin Shiriyue later, it was temporarily put to the back of his mind. Tonight he would safely get through this. While they were chatting, Qin Guang pushed the door open and came in. What are you talking about? Jin Shiriyue suddenly raised her voice. Ha 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 ha. No, nothing. Qin Guang, where did you go? As she spoke, she tightly grabbed Jiang Yage, not letting her speak again. Qin Guang suspiciously looked at Jin Shiriyue. I didn't go anywhere. My sister told me to hide far away, so I just wandered around outside. Lin Jingwei also came over. Brother Guang, it's good that you're back. Your sister just fought with someone. As he spoke, he winked at Qin Guang. Qin Guang didn't really understand, so he played along with him. Who had the guts to challenge my sister? No one died, right? Bai Hua, who was next to him, said faintly, No one died tonight, but I don't know if they'll be dead tomorrow. Don't worry about this, I'll deal with it tomorrow. Jiang Yage didn't know whether to laugh or cry when she saw Jin Shiriyue and Lin Jingwei's behavior. She knew that Jin Shiriyue didn't want Qin Guang to know that she had fallen in love with someone else. She didn't want Qin Guang to have a bad impression of her. As for Lin Jingwei, Jiang Yage had the same thoughts. Jiang Yage knew that Lin Jingwei didn't know that she already knew, but she didn't know that Lin Jingwei knew about Qin Yu's real identity. As for Lin Jingwei, he didn't know that Jiang Yage already knew about Qin Guang's real identity. He said this because he had to pretend that he didn't know anything. This was human nature, and it was time to cover for Jiang Yage. At the very least, he couldn't let Jin Shiriyue and Bai Hua think that he didn't care about the fact that Jiang Yage was infatuated with Qin Yu. Messy, this room was really messy. Even Qin Guang, who knew everything, was almost dizzy from the situation. After coming in, he didn't dare to speak carelessly and could only chuckle. Fortunately, he didn't have to be tortured for long. They gradually sobered up, and Bai Hua didn't have the mood to stay any longer. Not long after, everyone decided to leave. Jin Shiriyue called Zhou Yun to bring someone to pick them up, and the two women returned to the hotel to rest. Bai Hua also called his bodyguards over, and arranged for one of them to drive Qin Guang and Lin Jingwei back to school, while he himself returned to the Silver Bull Hotel. On the other side, Bai Hua's bodyguards parked Qin Guang's car in the parking lot of Gokyo University, and after saying goodbye, they left. After Qin Guang and Lin Jingwei left, they all let out a sigh of relief. I'm so tired. Lin Jingwei looked up to the sky and roared. Qin Guang hammered his chest with his fist. You still have the face to say that? Do you know how miserable I was for you? Lin Jingwei stared back at him. You still have the face to say that? Are you even human? When you were a man you charmed Jin Shuiwei, and when you were a woman you flirted with Jiang Yache. Are you a celestial being? People always say that you're not easy to deal with, but you're practically a walking flamethrower. Burn wherever you go. Qin Guang was stunned at first. Damn it, I can't tell this guy that Jiang Yache knows everything. Otherwise how can Jiang Yache face the world? It's a mess too messy. It's a long story. In the future, I might have to write a 100,000-word thesis to explain it slowly. It's too complicated, really too complicated. Forget it anyway, it's your own business. Brother, good luck. I don't even know how you survived. If it were me, I would be so annoyed to death by so many women. Anyway, Brother Bai Hua won't bother you with Chen Yu's matter anymore. Qin Guang was overjoyed. Did he completely give up? Lin Jingwei shook his head. I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? Can't you try harder? He looked like he didn't have any more ideas, but then he said something. What did he say? He said if there's a next life, he wants to be a woman. In the wild? Brother Guang, why do you look like you're about to die? Is it possible that there's a next life? Can people like you who have reached the realm of martial arts see what happened in your previous life? No, there's definitely no next life. Don't think about this kind of lies. But what kind of existence is a human soul? Is it material or virtual? Was the life form of energy real? If a human soul leaves the body, will it become a material life? Once the energy finds a carrier, does that mean it will turn from an energy body into a physical life form? Get lost. Shut up. A person's reincarnation, the cycle of life, is it a continuous cycle of material and energy just like the cycle of water on earth? Water, steam, rain? Qin Guang kicked Lin Jingwei's butt. If you keep talking nonsense, I'll send you to the mental hospital. Qin Guang decisively cut off Lin Jingwei's thoughts. The two of them joked and joked all the way back to the dormitory, discussing some rather profound philosophical questions. When Qin Guang slept in exhaustion, he was finally able to free himself from it. The next morning, Xiong'er's deafening roar echoed through the whole dormitory 7 of Gokyo University. Damn. My God. My 7th granduncle. Big news. Big news. Jiang Yache. She came out of the closet. Qin Guang, Lin Jingwei, and Bai Nyangzi all sat up straight in bed. Bai Nyangzi was still rubbing his eyes, while Qin Guang and Lin Jingwei looked at Xiong'er with ashen faces. What? I dare you to say it again. Xiong'er looked at Qin Guang and the others with a sad face, then waved his phone screen in front of them. On it was the hot news on today's front page app. Jiang Yache, she came out of the closet. Qin Guang had better eyesight, so he saw everything clearly. On Xiong'er's phone was a slightly blurry and dim photo, but the facial features were distinguishable. Then Xiong'er pointed at the tall woman, who was hugging Jiang Yache, and gritted his teeth. Brother Guang, who is this woman? She stole your business. Chop her to death. Kill her all at once. Qin Guang slapped himself. He was addicted to acting cool yesterday, so he didn't check. He must have accidentally taken a photo of Lu Chao Club staff when he was taking advantage of Jiang Yache in the passageway after beating someone up. He didn't know who had the guts to do that. But this wasn't important. It wasn't important anymore. Things were about to blow up. Brother Guang, you flirted with this woman? Jiang Yache is our goddess and she's your old friend. You can't watch her fall into the fire pit. Xiong'er was still howling. Qin Guang looked at him with a dark expression. Lin Jingwei also couldn't speak for a long time. Xiong'er, your idea is great. You want Brother Guang to be self-sufficient. Bai Nyangzi also pounced on Xiong'er's bed and snatched the phone. He clicked his tongue and said, Oh my God, this handsome tea is so beautiful and this figure is amazing. Why does it look so familiar? Forget it, she's too beautiful. I can't take it anymore. It's still early in the morning, let me take a swipe to calm myself. Lin Jingwei's face was ashen and he screamed, Bai Nyangzi, don't. Please don't. As he shouted, he jumped onto Bramble's bed with his head in the air. Qin Guang looked at this scene and clutched his chest tightly. Ouch, my heart hurts. I can't take it anymore, I might become the first martial sage to die of a heart attack. Chapter 1005. In the dormitory, Qin Guang and Lin Jingwei tied Bai Nyangzi up like a rice dumpling and dragged him to the toilet and poured cold water on him for a full 5 minutes before they finally subdued this idiot who was completely obsessed with sperm. Bai Nyangzi didn't understand why Qin Guang and Lin Jingwei were doing this. He felt that it was simply inexplicable. He thought to himself, of course I understand the principle of not deceiving a friend's wife. I'm not going to do bad things to Jiang Yage. I'm going to make a move on this handsome T who tried to steal Brother Guang's woman. What are you guys doing? Why the hell? You guys are very strange. Last semester, when everyone was watching the film together, didn't you guys have a good time in your own bed after you were done? Did you guys take the wrong medicine today? Poor Bai Fan shivered all over after being drenched in cold water. Then he wailed and crawled into the bed cursing, "Are you too crazy? If it wasn't for the fact that I can't beat you, I'd fight it out with you." Qin Guang and Lin Jingwei looked at each other and let out a long sigh of relief. No matter what, at least they prevented the most terrible thing from happening. At the thought of that scene, Bai Nyangzi looked at the photo of Qin Guang, with blurred eyes, and his body trembled violently. Then, bio, really goosebumps all over his body. Even the end of the world was nothing more than this. On the other side, Xiong'er had already gotten out of bed and was frantically searching for news on the internet. It's blown up, it's all blown up. On Weibo, in the forum, in Tieba, today's front page, Daily Morning Post, Penguin News. My God, it's flooded, it's completely flooded, my brother. The second photo is out and it's clearer than the first one. Motherf asterisk her, this lesbian sister is too much. She's obviously a girl and so beautiful. Even I think she's so handsome. No wonder Jiang Yage fell for it. The third photo is also out. Oh my God, her hand was on Jiang Yage's butt. Don't anyone pull me. I'm going to hack this damned woman to death. Qin Guang had no idea how he managed to resist the urge to strangle Xiong'er. Most probably it was Lin Jingwei's cross-lock that had taken effect. The first photo was posted about half an hour before he woke up. The second photo and the first photo were about 30 minutes apart. 5 minutes later, the third photo was posted. Obviously, the informant was very professional. First, they used the first picture to stir up the heat and then used the title of Jiang Yage comes out of the closet in the morning to wake up the people who would care about this kind of entertainment super gossip from their sleep, so that more and more people would stay in front of their computers or mobile phones, waiting for the next news. 30 minutes was enough for a lot of the media people to wake up and enter combat mode. Although the first-hand information had been snatched away, they could still catch up with the hot topic and write their own comments. As for the gossipy onlookers, they could also wake up one by one. Then they would wash their faces and sit on their way to work, refreshing the app over and over again, waiting for the next news. At this time, the second photo appeared. Just as people were digesting the shock brought by the second photo, the third one followed. These events were closely linked to each other, causing the impact of the entire incident to rapidly rise from nothing to the peak within an hour from 7 to 8 in the morning. The informant was also very particular about this time period. The previous scandals about Jiang Yage and Jin Shiyue, even if they were fabricated and no one would believe them, would be quickly suppressed by the mysterious force. But between 7 to 8 in the morning, it was the last hour between the night shift and the morning shift. They didn't have enough manpower. Even if they reacted quickly, it was difficult for them to resist such explosive news. The second and third photos that followed would make the mysterious force even more exhausted. When the influence of this matter on the internet reached a climax, even if the mysterious power went all out during the day, it might not be able to suppress it easily. It would take at least 1 or 2 days for this news to disappear. By that time, the 3 photos would have been in the eyes of all the netizens, and their existence could no longer be covered up. Qin Guang couldn't stay in the dormitory anymore. He didn't need to look carefully to know how explosive this matter would be if it continued to ferment. Under the protection of the elders, Jiang Yage and Jin Shiyue had always been good girls with a positive image. In the end, they came out of the closet. It was unknown how many people's eyeballs would explode. Qin Guang didn't need to think to know that Jiang Yage was being roared at by the bald old man at this moment. She was a bit of a scapegoat. In fact, she was innocent. I can guarantee with my integrity that there is absolutely no problem with her sexual orientation. At this time, it didn't matter who the informant was, what his purpose was, or who secretly took the photos and sent them to the informant yesterday. The most important thing now was how to deal with it and try to eliminate the influence of this matter so that Jiang Yage wouldn't be hurt too badly. In addition, he had to call her first. She dragged him into this mess so he should comfort her. He had been calling her since he went downstairs, but when he was about to walk to the cafeteria, there was always a busy tone. He didn't need to think to know that the bald old man must be busy. Qin Guang stomped his feet. It was useless to be anxious, so he simply ordered 8 big meat buns and 3 bowls of porridge from the cafeteria and sat down to eat. However, he didn't have a peaceful breakfast. Almost every time he took a bite of a bun, he had to send away 1 or 2 people who recognized him. Unlike in the past, Most of the boys and girls who came to chat with him today said the same thing. Qin Guang, I heard that you are friends with Jiang Yage. Is it true that she came out of the closet? These people asked while waving their phones, and the 3 photos were on the screen. What could Qin Guang say? All he could say was, no comment, I'm not sure, I'm watching the news, I can't get through, the line is busy, please don't ask me, let me eat first, okay? After finishing his breakfast with great difficulty, he fled from the cafeteria. He was also sweating profusely. In such a short time, everyone in the school was whispering to each other. Everyone knew that there were many places in the country that were exactly the same as the one in the school. Just as he was thinking about this, his phone rang. He picked it up and saw that it was his father calling. Son, I heard that Jiang Yage came out of the closet? Is it true? That's impossible. Weren't you kept by her in the past? Why did she come out of the closet all of a sudden? Qin Guoli fired off a barrage of questions over the phone. Qin Guang did not expect his father to know. He sighed and said, Dad, it's not easy for me to explain this. So, when Qin Guoli heard his lonely tone, he seemed to have guessed something. He stomped his feet and said, Hey, I understand now. Qin Guang was puzzled. What do you understand now, Dad? It's all my fault. What has it got to do with you? I told you that celebrities are hard to please. I told you to make up for it, but you didn't believe me. Now you know how powerful I am? What do I know now? Son, don't be discouraged. Although you may not be very satisfactory in that aspect, your face is still quite pleasing to look at. Don't be sad. There are plenty more fish in the sea. Oh yes, I'll make you another bowl of invincible rejuvenation soup. This time you have to eat it obediently. Qin Guang finally understood. He understood everything. His father thought that he had squeezed Jiang Yage dry and could no longer satisfy her physical needs. That was why she changed her tastes and fell in love with women. If not for the fact that it was his own father on the other end, he would have scolded him. What the hell are you talking about? Your son has already made up for you into the best pile driver in history. Why are you still trying to make up for it? Thinking about how Sister Tang Ying was dragged into this pit, if I make up for it, I'll really have to change my name to Azura. Dad, just take a break. I'm begging you, okay? Forget it, I'm not talking to you anymore. I still have to make a call. Qin Guang hung up the phone as soon as he finished speaking. He was really afraid that he would go crazy from anger. He still couldn't get through to Jiang Yage's phone. Qin Guang had already jogged all the way to the parking lot. He was wondering if he should drive to the hotel where they had stayed the day before. Before he left, he scrolled through his phone again and was shocked by the new information that popped up on the screen. Why did she admit it so easily? Looking at Jiang Yage's newly updated Weibo, Qin Guang's mind was filled with a huge black question mark. Below her Weibo was a selfie. It was taken when she was about to remove her makeup yesterday. She put her head on his shoulder and showed off. She had censored the background of the women's restroom, but the big faces of Qin Yu and Jiang Yage were extremely clear in the camera. At that time he was a little uncomfortable, so his expression was cold and reserved. However, Jiang Yage smiled very happily and sweetly. Above the photo there was a very brief accompanying text. It was concise and comprehensive, and the meaning was clear. As everyone can see, yes, we are together. He looked at the time when the Weibo was updated. It was 30 seconds ago. Qin Guang refreshed the page again. In less than a minute, the number of comments below had already exceeded 5,000, and the number of forwards had already exceeded 8,000. Moreover, it was growing at a very frightening speed. Qin Guang's head was buzzing. He leaned back. What else could he say? How could he eliminate this influence? She had admitted it all. She had admitted in front of everyone in the world that she had come out of the closet. Big sister, you are really a little explosive. Back to last night. Jiang Yage and Jin Shirui returned to the hotel. Naturally, Jin Shirui couldn't avoid all kinds of questions. She asked her what was going on in her head, why did she suddenly change her mind, and what exactly did she think about Qin Guang and Qin Yu now? Let's not talk about the relationship between the two of them. You first fell in love with the younger brother and then fell in love with the older sister. Isn't this causing conflict between the two of them? Jin Shirui was also persuading Jiang Yage, telling her to think clearly and tell her that there was no future between her and Qin Yu. Even if there were many people who liked Qin Guang, even if Qin Guang himself wasn't easy to deal with, it was better to continue pursuing him than to be with Qin Yu. At least Qin Guang could let you have a child, right? Jiang Yage had a guilty conscience in her heart. She dodged left and right and was really tired of defending. The more Jin Shirui persuaded her, the more ashamed Jiang Yage felt. She wanted to open her mouth and admit it a few times, but the words jumped into her throat and she forcefully swallowed them back into her stomach. At that time she only thought, I will wait one more day, just one more day. When Sister Shirue lets this matter go a little easier, I will think of a way and slowly tell her. Otherwise, I will trick Qin Guang over tomorrow and find the medicine to let the two of them cook a meal. There were many things that only required determination when making a decision, but when it came to implementing it, it required great courage. In the end, she managed to escape from Jean Shirue's encirclement. The two girls even slept in separate rooms for a night. Chapter 1006. Jiang Yage just wanted to delay it, but when she opened her eyes early in the morning, she was also caught off guard by the overwhelming news on the internet. Before she came to her senses, Grandpa's phone call came in. Old Jiang scolded her harshly. The old man was so angry that he finally accepted the idea of finding a way to let his granddaughter hook up with Qin Guang, but this obedient granddaughter actually came out of the closet. This was the biggest stain in old Jiang's life. This not only made him lose face but also the prestige of the Jiang family. This was ridiculous. Old Jiang still scolded Jiang Yage as before. For so many years he had been disciplining Jiang Yage in this way, so she had developed a character of being tough on the outside but soft on the inside. She looked careless, but in fact she was very afraid of the control of her family, which was the other extreme of Jean Shirue's family. Through the phone, Jiang Yage was also sprayed with saliva by old Jiang, and she felt very wronged. What do you know? You don't know anything. No matter what you say, I don't care what the relationship between Qin Yu and Qin Guang is. Anyway you. Absolutely not. After scolding for a full half an hour, old Jiang panted heavily, put down the sentence and then hung up the phone. Jiang Yage's eyes were full of tears. She felt so wronged. Jean Shirue, who had been listening to the phone call outside the door for more than half an hour, came inside, sat on the bed and gently pinched Jiang Yage's hand. Yage, don't cry. You know your grandpa has a sharp tongue but a soft heart. Otherwise, let's not mention this first. Maybe he will forget it after a while. I won't persuade you. If you really like Qin Yu, we can slowly think of a long-term plan. Jiang Yage gritted her teeth, looked up at Jean Shirue and bowed her head heavily. Sister Shirue, I'm sorry. Jean Shirue was stunned. Why are you apologizing to me? Jiang Yage picked up her phone and typed on Weibo while saying, I'll explain it to you after I finish posting this Weibo. As a result, the Weibo post that Qin Guang was reading now appeared in her personal Weibo account. Ever since she was young, Jiang Yage had always been obedient to her grandfather. Her father didn't interfere much. There could only be one overbearing person in the family. Old Jiang was enough to make everyone feel suffocated. Although Jiang Yuanchao was arrogant in front of outsiders at home, he was still subdued by the old man. But this time, Jiang Yage didn't want to listen to her grandfather anymore. She even felt angry. Yes, Qin Yu was fake. She didn't exist. What I did with Qin Yu wasn't actually coming out of the closet because she was Qin Guang. But what right do you have to control me? Even if I have to come out of the closet, it's my freedom. After being scolded by old Jiang on the phone for more than half an hour, Jiang Yage didn't feel guilty. Instead, she felt wronged and angry. Her psychological changes were extremely complicated. If the thing with Qin Yu was true, she might be afraid and really feel that she had lost the face of her family. Deep down, she knew that it was all fake, but she was still scolded by the old man. She could only hold it in and couldn't tell the truth, so of course she became more and more angry. But she didn't dare to yell at the old man, so she could only listen to him on the phone. But the old man's voice was too loud, so she couldn't listen to him. When she hung up the phone, she thought about it again. The more she thought about it, the more wronged she felt. She was so angry that she posted the Weibo post. It was also the old man's fault for protecting Jiang Yage and Jean Shirue too much in the past. The two girls' Weibo accounts were usually in their hands, and they didn't hand them over to the people in the company. Otherwise, this kind of emergency public relations thing should have been filtered by Sister Zhou first, and then discussed at a meeting to see how to deal with it. Few artists could use such a violent way to deal with the storm like Jiang Yage. Didn't you say that I came out of the closet? Then I admitted it. Then what? What do you want? Grandpa, didn't you scold me? Didn't you say that I absolutely couldn't do it? Now I've done it and I admit it directly. Let's see what you can do to me. Jean Shirue, who was sitting next to Jiang Yage, also held her mobile phone in her hand. She refreshed it and looked down and her face changed. Yage, you're crazy. Didn't I say we should think about it in the long run? Delete it now. With that, Jin Shiyue rushed up to grab Jiang Yage's mobile phone. Jiang Yage hid the mobile phone behind her back. I won't delete it. I won't delete it. No. It must be deleted. Jin Shiyue was really angry and anxiously stamped her feet. What's wrong with you? Can't you be a little more mature? Let's not talk about your family. Later you can slowly explain to your father and grandfather. You can always get over this hurdle. But what if Chen Guang saw it? What will you do? Are you really going to give up on him and be with his sister? Why are you so inconsiderate? Jiang Yage blankly looked at Jin Shiyue, whose face was red with anxiety. She was stunned for a long time, and her nose became more and more sour. Of course, she understood what Jin Shiyue was thinking. The opinions of other outsiders and even the resistance from her family were actually not the most important factors. Sister Shiyue, she was afraid that she would lose Chen Guang. I really let Sister Shiyue down. I lied to you for many years. I was too selfish. Once she realized this, the dissatisfaction and grievance in Jiang Yage's heart towards her grandfather disappeared in an instant. What was left was only shame and self-blame in front of Jin Shiyue. Jin Shiyue saw the tears in Jiang Yage's eyes, and thought that her words were too heavy. So she sighed again, softened her tone, and sat down next to Jiang Yage. She grabbed her hand with both hands and gently patted the back of her hand. Yage, I'm not blaming you. I just don't want you to regret it in the future. Don't look at Chen Guang's careless appearance, but in fact boys nowadays are very possessive. Even if you are just hot-headed and betrayed him for a short time, or even if the object of your affection is a woman, his sister, he will definitely have a knot in his heart. No matter what, isn't he the one you've always liked? Jin Shiyue gently persuaded. Jiang Yage finally couldn't hold it in anymore. She threw herself into Jin Shiyue's arms and burst into tears. Sister Shiyue, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was wrong, I was really wrong. Jin Shiyue thought that her advice was effective, and continued to pat Jiang Yage's back. Well, it's good that you know you're wrong. Be good, give me the phone, I'll help you delete it. Jiang Yage couldn't bear it anymore. She raised her head, her eyes were red, and her nose was running. Sister Shiyue, actually, Qinyu is Chen Guang. Jin Shiyue's hand that was raised in the air suddenly froze. This? What? Jiang Yage sat up straight and grabbed Jin Shiyue's hand. I should have told you earlier, I really didn't mean to hide this from you. Actually, when we met Qinyu at Yanjingzi Nua Club, I bumped into her in the ladies' washroom. She was removing her makeup at that time. She is Chen Guang. Jin Shiyue's face was full of confusion, and her mind began to recall bits and pieces. When she first met Qinyu, she felt that she was slightly familiar, but because of her impeccable manners, she gradually lost her suspicion. When they met again yesterday, she heard that Qinyu was Chen Guang's sister, so she didn't have her guard up. But once she knew the result first and then tried to deduce the process, Qinyu would have more flaws. As for her manners with Chen Guang's acting skills, it wasn't a problem at all. He was a master who could bring others into the film, and now he was only one trophy away from being the best actor. But Jin Shiyue still didn't understand. I think it's too unbelievable. But it's the truth. Jin Shiyue rubbed her forehead. Her mind was in a daze. But why? I can't figure it out. Why did he dress up as a woman? What's the benefit? Usually, he doesn't seem to have that kind of tendency, right? This was the most suspicious point she couldn't understand. Jiang Yage took a deep breath and then said, he didn't explain this to me and I wanted to ask him, but he didn't want to say. At that time he also asked me to keep it a secret. I thought that I finally had something on him and I was too happy, so I didn't think it was necessary to get to the bottom of it. But I think what? Jiang Yage looked at Jin Shiyue with a burning gaze. Didn't Brother Bai Hua like you in the past? I think that Chen Guang saw Brother Bai Hua as a love rival, and he actually liked you too much and cared about you too much. So, he deliberately dressed up as Qinyu and used Lin Jingwei to get close to Brother Bai Hua, using this drastic method to get rid of his love rival. But I think that he probably didn't expect the effect to be so good, and then Brother Bai Hua completely lost control. In fact, I was the one who put on makeup for him yesterday, and he wanted to put an end to this matter once and for all. Jin Shiyue's breath stagnated, and she was completely confused. Her heart was extremely tangled. Rationally, she felt that Jiang Yage's speculation was too ridiculous and too unrealistic. Chen Guang had never taken the initiative to express any feelings for her. But emotionally, she couldn't help but hope that what Jiang Yage said was true. Even if it was too cruel and unfair to Bai Hua, and even if it made Chen Guang seem quite despicable to achieve his goals by hook or by crook. But Jin Shuiwei was subconsciously willing to accept his despicable actions, and she was even moved to the point that her heart stopped beating. Just like how she was the one who had evil intentions, but in the end she pretended to be kind and helped Jiang Yage. Jin Shuiwei couldn't deny it, but in fact she was also selfish. I still feel that it's a bit unbelievable. This isn't a play. How could Qin Guang make such a sacrifice for me? How could he be so despicable? Jin Shuiwei's heart was already shaken. Jiang Yage shook her head fiercely. You must not say that about him. People are really strange. Once they are driven by emotions, even the most upright person may do something that even they themselves can't believe. Just like me and also like you, Sister Shuiwei, don't you think so? Chapter 1007. Jin Shuiwei looks back at Jiang Yage and remembers all kinds of concealment between herself and Solomon for a long time. She feels that Jiang Yage's words have a hidden meaning and a tacit understanding. In fact, everyone is very despicable and there is really no reason to blame anyone. Sister Shuiwei, I'm not talking about you. In fact, it's all my fault. I knew from a long time ago that the person Qin Guang likes is you, but I have been hiding it from you. It's me who is the third party. It's me who is intervening in your relationship. Alas, Solomon, don't say it. I'm not magnanimous either. No, I want to say it. I must say it. I've always felt that it's because he cares so much about you that he keeps you at arm's length. It's because he worries about personal gains and losses. It's just like how he treats me or other people. He's especially open-minded because he has no desires and fears nothing. Jin Shuiwei is sweet in her heart when she hears Jiang Yage's words, but she also feels heartache for Jiang Yage. Yes, in fact, Qin Guang's acting skills have always been very good, and he really hides his feelings deeply. But Solomon also likes Qin Guang even before her. She must be very sad to say this, right? Alas, Solomon, it's not your fault. You said it first, alas. The two poor women sympathize with each other again. In fact, if Jiang Yage and Jin Shuiwei know the real reason why Qin Guang pretends to be Qin Yu, it's just that he is trapped by Lin Jingwei. In order to get back that limited edition Patek Philippe, they unknowingly make things like this today. I'm afraid that the two women will vomit blood until they have anemia. Thousands of mistakes. It's all the fault of fate. It's the fault of fate that leads to today's mistakes again and again. In addition to saying that fate makes fun of people, what else can they say? On the other end, Qin Guang's call finally came in. Jiang Yage looked at the caller ID and gestured to Jin Shuiwei to keep quiet. Then, before Qin Guang could speak, she said, "Did you see the news?" When Qin Guang heard this, he felt strange. Why was her mental state better than he had imagined? She seemed to be very open-minded and relieved. This was illogical. Wait a minute, was she going to give up? That's not very good, is it? Qin Guang gritted his teeth. Yeah, I saw it. I saw your Weibo too. I didn't expect it to turn out like this. I'm sorry. Why are you apologizing to me? It's nothing. Jiang Yage was stubborn. Qin Guang asked, "Didn't your grandfather scold you?" He said it. Sai, who cares? He can't possibly arrest me and lock me up, right? Jiang Yage said casually. Obviously, she was also putting up a front in front of Qin Guang. Actually, when she said this, her heart skipped a beat. Not good. Not to mention, with her grandfather's temper, she might really be put under house arrest. Maybe, should, probably, not. She subconsciously repeated it again, but there was a hint of uncertainty in her tone. Forget it. If it really doesn't work, I'll go to Beijing to look for your grandfather immediately. They should still give me face. No? No need. There's really no need. Don't worry about this. I have a way. I can settle it. If it really doesn't work, I'll look for you again. If you get involved now, it will only get more and more troublesome. Jiang Yage said hurriedly. All right. Qin Guang nodded. He also didn't have a good solution. The current situation was completely out of his expectations. Hearing him let go, Jiang Yage secretly looked at Jin Shuiwei and said tentatively, "Actually, I think this situation is not bad." How is it not bad? Think about it. I came out of the closet and got together with Qin Yu. What about you and Sister Shuiwei? Although you said that you are not close, but in fact, everyone in and out of the circle still sees you as Sister Shuiwei's fiancé. No matter what, it's more acceptable than two women sharing a husband, right? Qin Guang was instantly speechless. He wanted to say that he wasn't interested in Jin Shuiwei, but he felt that it wasn't appropriate. Oh right, when you decided to pretend to be Qin Yu to seduce brother Bai Hua, it was because of Sister Shuiwei, right? Jiang Yage looked at Jin Shuiwei and asked the most important question. Then she switched the phone to hands-free mode. Chen Guang didn't know that Jin Shirue was right next to him and argued, "What a joke. When did I take the initiative to seduce brother Bai Hua? Don't disgust me." "What else? Then you like women's clothing?" "No such thing." "Then why did you do it? Why did you pretend to be Qin Yu and appear in front of brother Bai Hua? And you even made him fall head over heels for you. What are you after? I can't figure it out even if I break my head." Chen Guang was speechless. If it was any other time he would have hung up the phone. But today Jiang Yage took the blame for him and she wanted an answer. It would be too much if he didn't explain anything. But he really didn't have the face to tell her about the Patek Philippe incident. Now that he was a billionaire, how could he dress up as a woman for something worth $1 million and even make someone fall for him? It was ridiculous and shameful. Jiang Yage wouldn't believe it. He sighed. "Forget it, let the old man tell another lie." Okay, I admit it. Yes, I heard that Bai Hua also likes Shirue. At that time I felt that I couldn't compare to him in any way, and my brain short-circuited. Liang Shambua and Zhu Yingtai had seen too much of it and I wanted to try it myself. But I was just joking. I didn't expect it to become so big. So, hey, don't be so stubborn. Okay, I know. If there's nothing else, I'll hang up first. Don't say anything on the internet. Just pretend that you don't know anything. It will be fine in a few days. I'll hang up first. Sister Zhou is knocking on the door. After Jiang Yage finished speaking, she hung up the phone and then blinked at the dumbfounded Jin Shirue. "Poodle, Sister Shirue, did you hear that? The truth, there is only one. He really likes you." Jin Shirue's body went limp as she sat on the chair. Her mind was filled with perplexity and sweetness, but at the same time she also felt blame for Chen Guang. He really did it. In the end, Chen Guang didn't go to the city. Jiang Yage was right. He couldn't help much even if he went. When he returned to the dormitory, the storm on the internet was even more intense. Jiang Yage personally announced it. Even if it was just a message on Weibo, it was equivalent to a press conference. Of course, it added fuel to the fire. Chen Guang was exhausted. Many people who knew about his relationship with his right-hand men came to inquire about the situation. Even Gao Ye dragged Sun Xiaoxuan and Lin Jingwei out. They said it was a dinner party, but in fact they wanted to gossip. Chen Guang and Lin Jingwei unified their statements and confirmed that Jiang Yage had come out of the closet. Gao Ye was happy for Sun Xiaoxuan. It was a good thing, a very good thing. A super strong competitor had fallen in love with her. What was this called? The evils we bring upon ourselves are the hardest to bear. In the afternoon, Chen Guang felt uneasy and thought that maybe he should call old Jiang. After all, they were acquaintances. He could be the peacemaker and ask old Jiang not to make things difficult for Jiang Yage. However, before he could make the call, the old man called him first. Chen Guang was at a loss. He found a secluded place and picked up the call suspiciously. "You know what happened to Solomon, right?" Old Jiang went straight to the point. Chen Guang thought, how can I not know? "I know. Grandpa Jiang, don't be angry. She's young. She won't think like this after a while." "Are you kidding me? She's crazy." "Grandpa Jiang, don't be angry. I'm not in Yanjin. If something happens, I'm afraid." It was rare for Chen Guang to talk to old Jiang so politely. Chen Guang, you're a good guy. I haven't heard you being so polite for a long time. You're the top master in the world. I know how powerful you were when you dealt with Ouyang Tianxing and the others. You have your pride and arrogance. You're so polite today, which shows that you really care about Solomon and me, right? Chen Guang was puzzled. He didn't know why old Jiang suddenly said that. He felt that something was wrong. "Yes, it's like this. Solomon is my friend, and Grandpa Jiang, you're also very kind to me. If it weren't for your and Grandpa Jin's help, I wouldn't be where I am today. I'll remember your kindness." "It's good that you remember my kindness, but you have to help me this time." "Oh. Old Jean and I have already taken Solomon and Shirue home. She was stubborn with me in the afternoon, and it seems that she can't get over this hurdle." "Solomon is under house arrest?" "Yes, I'll lock her up for a while." "Grandpa Jiang, this is not very good, right? Our movie has just finished shooting, and it's going to be the publicity period soon. We can't do it without her cooperation. I invested a lot of money in the movie. If the box office is not good, I'll lose everything." Chen Guang hurriedly said his difficulties, trying to save the country in a roundabout way. Old Jiang snorted. "Of course I know, but I'm just putting on an act. Now there's only one solution." "What?" "Arrange for your people and prepare to let your Chengguang group take over the agency of Solomon and Shirue." I've discussed with old Jean. The companies of the two girls, together with their own agency contracts, will be sold to you for 1 yuan. Why is that? No reason. Dare to come out of the closet? And like women? This is simply smearing the bottom of a pot on my face. I will never agree. But there's no need to give me their company, is there? Don't talk nonsense. Aren't you very good at attracting girls? No, I'm very pure. There's no way you're pure. In short, I'll give you the sword, and you give me the advantage of being close to Solomon. From now on, the two girls are artists under Qin Guang's banner. I heard that their net worth is worth billions now, right? I'll give it to you for free. Don't be polite with me. No, this is my military order. If you want to get these billions for free, you have to get Solomon. At least you have to change her sexual orientation for me. Do you hear me? Qin Guang was completely dumbfounded, and there was a deep knot in his mind as big as the logo of Wuxia Unicom. What was going on here? Qin Guang didn't answer. Old Jiang thought he was reluctant, so he changed the subject and pretended to be miserable again. Little Qin, this old man rarely asks for help, but this time, I'm really panicking. You have to help me. Look at me, I'm already so old, but my precious granddaughter is dating a homosexual. Do you know how sad I feel? Can you do me this favor? Now I really don't know who else I can count on except you. Anyway, you have a good relationship with them, right? Now they don't have any other friends of the opposite sex. It's better for you than to let them date a homosexual, right? I'm old, don't let me die with regrets. Grandpa Jiang, I agree. Good. Then it's a deal. Now the two girls are struggling, but don't worry, we'll lock them up for a few more days. If they want to go out, they must sign the contract. There was a bang on the other side of old Jiang. Maybe he was so excited that he hit the table. Okay, it's a deal. Old Jiang was in a good mood. Little Qin, listen to me. The transfer contract we arranged is a full transfer, that is to say, the acting careers of Solomon and Shuriwei will all be in your hands in the future. You can do whatever you want. If she is really disobedient, you can even sleep with her. Don't worry, I'll support you. I'll hang up first. Wait for my good news. 3 days at the latest. After that, the old man hung up the phone. Qin Guang stood in the corner like a silly goose. He could probably imagine how much acting Jiang Yage would do at this moment. She may be resisting stubbornly, making a scene, but in fact she should be almost crazy with joy in her heart. Qin Guang sympathized with old Jiang, who was fooled and thought everything was under his control. With such a good granddaughter, you are really miserable, bald grandpa. In short, I'm going to sleep with her. Chapter 1008. The next morning, the public opinion on the internet didn't stop. Instead, it became more and more intense. Master Jiang had already made his move, and the mainstream media no longer reported this matter. Jiang Yage's Weibo post was also deleted by someone behind the scenes. However, the netizens couldn't resist the enthusiasm of the netizens. Screenshots of Weibo were still circulating everywhere, and discussions were still in full swing in various forums, groups, and WeChat moments in real life. According to the current trend, it didn't matter how many posts were deleted or banned. There was no flashlight that could erase people's memories like in Men in Black. No matter how powerful the deletion method was, it wouldn't be able to erase the memories in people's heads. Unless there was another explosive news that could turn the world upside down, the influence of this matter could only be eliminated with time. Qin Guang got up early in the morning and went straight to the company's headquarters in the city. Recently, most of Qin Guang Group's energy was focused on cooperating with the movie promotion of Women. Since Qin Guang didn't have other arrangements, they couldn't be idle. Since the company took the majority of the investment in Women, the box office of Women was also the company's business. Anyway, they had nothing to do and they couldn't just take their salary for nothing. Yu Hong also knew the principle of the workplace. They couldn't wait for the boss to arrange everything, and they had to learn to find their own things to do. Yu Hong, Fang Tianyu, Lu Xiaoyang and Su Li all thought so. Therefore, the whole company hadn't been idle recently. Their lives were very fulfilling, and they didn't need to worry that one day the boss would suddenly ask them to pack up and leave. However, there was a new change yesterday. The well-deserved female lead of Women, Jiang Yage, made a big news. The crew of Women panicked, and the whole Qinguang group was also confused. There were precedents of using scandals to attract attention in the industry, but this kind of thing had never happened to Jiang Yage. The producers and the investors didn't have the guts to make fun of Jiang Yage, not to mention that we were the investors, but we didn't have such a thing in our plan. Then there was only one possibility. The news on the internet was all true. She really came out of the closet. No one knew whether this was a good thing or a bad thing. The smarter investors would definitely take advantage of the situation. No matter what, they would ride on this hot topic and do whatever they could to hype up the movie. For example, they could even make up a story that Jiang Yage and Qin Yu met each other during filming, and then spread some news, true or false, that Qin Yu had visited the set during the outdoor shooting. But the target was Jiang Yage. No matter how good the idea was, they couldn't do it casually. Everyone had a fierce heart, but they had to feel the stones to cross the river. Lu Xiaoyang tried to contact his right-hand man Zhou Yun, but to no avail. Zhou Yun simply said that the two of them had been sent back to their families, and no one knew what was going on. Then Comrade Xiao Lu contacted Big Beard. Big Beard, who was busy with the post-production editing, also had a cute look on his face as his eyes welled up with tears. It wasn't easy for him to finally get rid of the two little princesses who were extremely difficult to please. He was just waiting for the finished film to be released and then he would be completely free. He didn't expect that just a few days after the filming was completed, there would be such a big scandal. Do you know how hard it is for me to live? Don't ask me what's going on. I have no idea why Solomon would suddenly come out of the closet. Didn't she have a good relationship with Chen Guang before? They were just short of rolling in the sheets in public. I don't know. I'm desperate. The bearded man bit the bullet and tried to call Jiang Yage to communicate, but no one answered. Later Big Beard learned something from Zhou. He was so scared that he didn't throw his phone away. He decided to cut the film in seclusion. Even if the sky falls down, I don't know anything. It's none of my business. I'm just an old director who is serious about making movies. Although I have a big beard, it doesn't mean I'm brave enough to use Jiang Yage's scandal to hype up the movie. So a whole day passed. Qingguang Group didn't take any measures no matter how itchy they were. They couldn't hype up the movie. As for covering up the limelight, there must be a mysterious force taking action. There was no need for Qingguang Group to pay out of their own pocket to do such a thing. However, everyone thought of their poor boss at the same time. Thinking about it, they felt sorry for him. In the beginning, he debuted as Jin Shiyue's fiancée. Not long after, he acted cool at the press conference and dumped her. Although Jin Shiyue later confessed on Weibo, it was all bark and no bite. Gradually there was no news. Before the kissing scene was released, the two didn't have any new rumors. It seemed that they really broke up. Later on, there were vague rumors and signs that Jiang Yage seemed to be very close to the boss and had a very close relationship. Although it was inconceivable, our boss seemed to have the characteristics of flirting with women. He took a beautiful and talented director Chu to a world language conference. It wasn't surprising that his left and right hands were taken by him one after the other. But now, it seemed that our boss had been flirting with girls until his sexual orientation was twisted. The world's greatest tragedy was this. The boss who felt sorry for his girl was taken away by a girl for 3 seconds. Then, everyone acted like director Deng and pretended that nothing had happened. Actually, Lu Xiaoyang and Fang Tianyu didn't feel sorry for him. In fact, they wanted to laugh. You deserve this. Retribution. Who told you to be so poor and arrogant? You failed miserably, like drawing water with a wicker basket? You had to grab both of them. Both of your hands slipped, right? I'll give you 2 words. You deserve it. Then it's decided. From now on we won't mention it again. But we have to be prepared. It's very likely that Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage won't be able to attend the promotional work. If it's only Rin Chong and Zhao Yueling, their status might not be enough. Xiao Yang discussed this with the boss. I'm afraid that the boss has to attend personally to maintain the attention. Yu Hong waved his hand at the meeting. Lu Xiaoyang resisted the urge to laugh and said with a straight face, "No problem. I'll go to the boss's school later." Then the meeting is adjourned. Yu Hong waved his hand and rubbed his sore eyebrows. What a headache. After everyone left one after another, Lu Xiaoyang and Fang Tianyu looked at each other and smiled wickedly. He. Lu Xiaoyang, how tragic. Fang Tianyu, +1. What a shame. How sad. What a disgrace to men. The girl he got turned into a lesbian. If it were me, I would have hung myself. Old Fang, you are a sea turtle, but why do I always feel that you are one of us? The more I look at you, the more pleasing to the eye. Xiaolu, I also find it strange. Logically speaking, you and I are not on the same level, but I think you regret not meeting me earlier. Lu Xiaoyang, a hero doesn't care about his background? Fang Tianyu nodded. A pervert who doesn't care about his background? You two bitches. Su Li suddenly poked his head in from outside and said in a sinister tone. 2 of the 4 kings of Qingguang Agency stared at him at the same time. Shut up. Su Li was still very calm. I'm going to complain to the boss and say that you two are taking pleasure in his misfortune. The two panicked. Old Su. Don't. Su Li paid no attention to the two of them, turning his head and walking out. The two quickly followed him out of the meeting room and saw Qin Guang and Yu Hong walking in side by side. Where are you going? Let's go back to the meeting room. Qin Guang waved his hand and went straight into the meeting room. Lu Xiaoyang and Fang Tianyu looked at each other and secretly gave Su Li a thumbs up. Brother, thank you for saving my life. He said he was going to complain to the boss, but he was actually reminding the two of them when he saw that the boss was here. Su Li rolled his eyes and looked at them as if they all owed him a big meal. After the four kings sat down, Qin Guang took a deep breath and said, I have an important announcement. Get ready as soon as possible. Jin Shirui and Jiang Ye's agency will be merged into Qingguang Agency, and the price will be 1 yuan. Yu Hong, what? Lu Xiaoyang, what? Fang Tianyu, damn. Su Li, Qin Guang looked at the four kings' shocked expressions and didn't know if he should be proud or sad. He raised his hand slightly and pressed it down. All right. Quiet down. You don't need to know the reason. Anyway, this is the decision and I have no right to object. Lu Xiaoyang was the first to stand up. Boss, I'm invincible. Fang Tianyu was one step slower. I'm on my knees, boss. Yu Hong calmed down a little. Although our agency used to be called Qingguang Agency, we actually don't have any experience in managing artists. Su Li started counting on his fingers. If we suddenly merge into an agency with a market value of billions at 1 yuan, it will be very difficult to handle the accounting. Looking at Yu Hong, Qin Guang continued, Old Yu, I don't want the two of them to suffer too much of a loss even though their company said that it's only worth $1. What do you think about this matter? Yu Hong rubbed his temples and thought for about 5 minutes before saying carefully, their companies are actually very mature. We don't have any experience but their people are very familiar with it. If we break up their companies and merge them into our agency, it will have a huge impact on the personnel structure of both sides. Why don't we just use their companies as the basic framework? We can even change their company's name to Qingguang Culture and then become a subsidiary company controlled by our headquarters. What do you think, boss? Qin Guang nodded. That's a good idea. But I heard that their companies originally had 2 artists under them, and they are also the controlling shareholders. Boss, didn't you discuss the specific shares with them? Qin Guang had a slight headache. Old Zhang's words were easy. Giving him 1 yuan was equivalent to giving him money for free, but he didn't feel at ease taking the money. But if he didn't have the controlling shares, old Jiang might not agree. He was afraid that he couldn't control Jiang Ye. My controlling shares must be more than 50%. How about you transfer your agency contract to the subsidiary of Qingguang Culture? Then you will have 60% of the shares, and they will each have 20% of the shares. Although your reputation is about the same as those two, I personally think that your potential personal brand value is still greater than theirs. This is fair to them and they won't lose out. Qin Guang made the final decision. Okay, it's settled. Keep it a secret for now. When the dust settles in a few days, you can quickly hand over and announce the news to the public. And so, the matter was more or less settled. Until Qin Guang left in the afternoon, the 4 great generals felt like they were in a dream. Their boss's tricks were too deep. Just when everyone thought that he had finally broken up with his girlfriend, he suddenly took everything from her body to her money. How domineering, how scary, how shameless. 3 days later, when the news of Jiang Ye coming out of the closet reached its peak and began to gradually decline, another piece of heavy news came out and swept the internet at an even faster speed. Left and Right Hand had changed owners. No, Left and Right Hand had finally sold their bodies. No, in short, in the entire entertainment industry, Jin Shirui and Jiang Ye, who had the most mysterious backgrounds and didn't need to rely on tycoons, had become artists under Qingguang. With lightning speed, Qingguang Culture was established. This company was under Qingguang Group and mainly dealt with artist agency contracts. At the moment, there were only 3 signed artists: Qingguang, Jin Shirui, and Jiang Ye. Actually, everyone knew that it was the Left and Right Hand whose company had been swallowed up by Qingguang. Although they didn't know how much money he had spent, based on the value of those two, even if Qingguang Group had received 1 billion yuan in cash from the Rising Sea Fund, it would still be impossible for them to swallow this big fish. This was like a snake swallowing an elephant. Qingguang had picked up a huge bargain. He had become a winner in life just by lying down. He had gotten these 2 works continuously, but was only 20 years old. It was as if he had two money printing machines at home. Jiang Yage had just come out of the closet, but in the blink of an eye she and Jin Shirue had given her and her money to Qin Guang. The millions of people who were watching on the sidelines couldn't react in time. The explosive news came one after another. It was really tiring for us gossipers. There was too much gossip and we couldn't digest it all. The world of the rich was really deep. Curse that be *tch named Qin Guang. Feeling the endless resentment coming from afar, Qin Guang looked numbly at Lin Jingwei, Xiong'er, and Bai Nyangzi, who were about to go berserk and strangle him to death. He spread his hands, his face full of helplessness. What could I do? I was just lying down and a mountain of gold fell on my head. I even had to follow the unspoken rules. I had no choice. Don't look at me like that. I'm handsome and good-looking. My face is good, so my life is good. You're too shameless. You're worse than a beast. Lin Jingwei, I'm going to call my grandpa. I'm going to expose you. Lin Jingwei knew the most and he was also very smart. He didn't even need Qin Guang to explain to him. He knew why Grandpa Jiang made this decision. He thought to himself, poor Grandpa Jiang, you really don't have to count on Brother Guang to save Solomon. You're clearly sending a sheep to the tiger's mouth. Chapter 1009. Qin Guang patted Lin Jingwei's shoulder, pulled him aside and whispered in his ear, "Why don't you report me? Tell them that you asked me to disguise as Qin Yu." Lin Jingwei broke out in a cold sweat and his heart turned cold. "No way? Brother Guang, you want to die with me?" Qin Guang grunted. "You think about how to explain it to the old masters. Grandpa Jiang hasn't reacted yet, but I guess tonight or tomorrow or the day after tomorrow they will call you. But I'm guessing that they'll call you tonight or tomorrow or the day after tomorrow at the latest." Lin Jingwei suddenly became alert. The first time Qin Yu appeared in front of others was when he brought her to find Bai Hua. If the old masters wanted to investigate Qin Yu's background, they would definitely call him. Damn it. Brother Guang, teach me what to do. Beg me. I beg you. Don't mess with me. Fine, just say that she is my sister and she took the initiative to find you. Alright, just say that she's my sister, and that she took the initiative to look for you. She's someone that even I don't dare to provoke. She's a person that's 10 times more cold-blooded than I am. Naturally they wouldn't ask too much. She is someone that even I don't dare to provoke, and she is 10 times more cold-blooded than I am. Naturally they won't ask any more questions. What do you mean? Qin Guang grinned and patted Lin Jingwei's shoulder. Young man, don't forget that the person in front of you is the most powerful inner force martial artist in the world. What do you mean? If I were in the ancient times I would be a dragon slayer, and the leader of the martial arts world. Have you ever seen anyone who dared to interrogate Dongfang Bubi? Lin Jingwei was stunned at first and then suddenly realized and then his face quickly turned pale. What? You learned the Sunflower Treasure Book? Get lost. Qin Guang covered his face and retreated. He really didn't want to admit that he had actually learned a similar lotus book in the true martial world. However, at that time Xiao Qin had already become a martial sage and was more cautious. He flipped to the last page and did not stupidly castrate himself. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. Qinguang brokerage had been very busy. They had finally absorbed Jin Jiang's company and conveniently moved the subsidiary company Qinguang Culture to Beijing. As for the personnel, there weren't too many changes. Qinguang Culture was still operated by the original person in charge of Jin Jiang's company. It was just that the company's equity had changed and Qinguang's personal management contract had been added. In these 3 days, there were some undercurrents that were not known to outsiders in Dechuan province. The wealthy Xiang family had once again poked a hornet's nest. They were ruthlessly slapped to the ground by a big slap from the sky. Then they were repeatedly rubbed. Dozens of members of the Xiang family as well as many people and forces attached to the Xiang family were all annihilated. Although there weren't many capital crimes, there were many cases of confiscation of property, sentencing and pursuing of responsibility. Within a year the Xiang family had lost 2 pillars, Xiang Guoming and Xiang Guorong. The losses could be said to be tragic. What was even more tragic was that when the wall was down, everyone would give it a push. The friends in the political, business and military circles who were on good terms with the Xiang family all closed their doors at this critical moment. They cut themselves off from the outside world and paid no attention to the outside world. No matter how the Xiang family begged in a low voice and waved a tempting check, hoping for someone to say a good word for them, it was useless. No one dared to take their moves. When they were attacked, what the other party threw out was also a solid hammer. If they didn't investigate you, everything would be fine. But once they did, it would be a smear of blood on the wall. At that time, Su Lijing asked Xiang Guoming to find someone to take Qin Guang's life, and Xiang Yangming dared to talk nonsense in Lu Chao's club. It was precisely because the Xiang family had never been clean. Lu Chao was also quick-witted. Although he didn't need to meddle in the affairs of Bai Hua, he still reminded his good friends not to get involved in the Xiang family's matter. There was no such thing as an airtight wall in the world. Lu Chao was in the limelight and the matter was so big, so naturally, it quickly spread throughout the country. Bai Hua also didn't intend to keep a low profile. It was better for others to know their place, so he didn't have to resort to more tricks. In just a few days, the Xiang family had collapsed like a withered tree. Their foundation couldn't be said to be solid. In the beginning, they relied on the relationship between Xiang Guoming and Su Lijing to start their business. Naturally, this time, their foundation was greatly damaged, and there was no possibility of a comeback. No one would remember the desperate cries of the Xiang family. Today it's us, tomorrow it'll be you. Qin Guang didn't care too much about these things. He was more concerned about the other side. Lu Chao didn't have to spend much effort to uncover the waiter who secretly took photos and leaked the photos. According to Lu Chao's plan, he wanted this greedy and daring young man to break both his hands. However, before he made his move, he first called Qin Guang to ask for his opinion. When he received Lu Chao's call, Qin Guang was walking on the long bridge with Lin Jingwei and the others. They were planning to go to the first building for class. At first, he was very angry and almost wanted to kill this guy. But in the end, his heart softened. Lu Li said that he was kind-hearted, but he didn't admit it. He even said that he didn't even blink when he killed the Broken World, Ouyang Tianxing, or the father and son of the Bao family. Then Lu Li said that he was decisive at that time because, based on his morals and outlook on life, he believed that these people deserved to die more than once. But in fact, every time he wanted to kill someone, he would first involuntarily define the other party's personality in his heart. His reasoning was very simple. He would always divide people into three categories: those who must be killed, those who could be killed, and those who could not be killed. When he made his move, he didn't hesitate because the people he killed were those that he thought must be killed. But if the other party provoked you, if you felt that the other party did not deserve to die and that the other party did not deserve to die, you wouldn't hate them anymore. At that time, Qin Guang was still arguing with Lu Li. But when Lu Chao asked how he should deal with that person, Qin Guang hesitated for a few seconds and then asked Lu Chao to let him go. Although the things that guy did were a bit ridiculous, the result was not unacceptable. Instead, he got a big bargain. As for the person behind the scenes who posted the news online, Qin Guang had no clue at all. Not only him, but even the special department that had been instructed by Old Master Jiang had not been able to find out who the culprit was. The other party's anti-detection methods and hacking skills could be said to be terrifying. When they first bought the photos, they were very careful and moved at least 5 broilers across several major networks around the world. Later, the other party's method of releasing the news was also very secretive. They directly hacked the servers of the mainstream media and changed the data from the backend. The first one they used to spread the news was an account that originally belonged to Zhuo Wei. Now the account was in Qin Guang's own hands, 8 weekly. This was the good thing about Qin Guang. Since I couldn't find out who it was, I didn't need to worry about it. It would save me a lot of energy. If it was someone who wanted to secretly mess with me, then he should be regretting it now. He had helped me a lot and allowed me to get a big bargain. He would probably do something else in the future. But it didn't matter. This time I let you sneak up on me. It won't be so easy for you to hide so well next time. The more you do, the more you'll expose yourself. Sooner or later you'll fall into my hands. At that time, whether you live or die will be decided based on your gender and appearance. Men die. Women ugly die. Beautiful lady will definitely become very good friends. The old man was just that honest. With this thought, Qin Guang happily returned to his school life. At least before Big Beard finished editing the film, he still had some free time. Recently, Jiang Ye's matter had become too big. The heated discussion about the movie Women and the play Thunderstorm had died down a lot. Qin Guang was very unhappy about this. Why are you guys worrying about nothing? Pay more attention to the meaningful things. You guys are not good for the box office and acting skills of my movie. Although he was unhappy, he couldn't do anything about it. Wuxia was a very traditional country. Although same-sex love was known by everyone, in the eyes of many traditional older generations, it was still a disgraceful thing. It was not something that could be shown in public. Throughout the Chinese entertainment industry, there weren't many celebrities who publicly admitted that they were different from ordinary people. Although many people knew that it wasn't an isolated case, but a widespread phenomenon in society, there were still very few people who dared to face it and be honest. Ordinary people couldn't accept it, let alone celebrities who were public figures. It was even rarer for A-list and A-list superstars above the B-list to publicly admit that they were the same sex. Jiang Yage, who had always appeared in front of the world as an obedient and sunny girl, suddenly came out of the closet, which shocked countless people. Qingguang Group suddenly swallowed an elephant, which completely shut down the minds of countless onlookers. Countless people were trying to figure out what was going on, but no one could find the answer. As for those who knew the inside story, they were secretly shocked by old Jiang's decisiveness. In order to pull back his granddaughter who had embarked on the evil path, old Jiang wanted Qingguang, the most beautiful man in the world, to take action. Of course they sympathized with old Jiang, but they couldn't tell him about it, not even behind his back. If it reached his ears, someone would be killed. The clamor in the outside world continued. Old Jiang was still furious, but in fact, insiders like Qingguang and Jiang Yage had already calmed down. It didn't matter what outsiders thought. Even if the sky had fallen, as long as the days passed, even the craziest topic would subside one day. As long as old Jiang didn't explode with anger, everything would be fine. Qingguang didn't stay completely idle while he was in class. He took the time to go to the Guangdong General Administration. Although he was no longer the director, the General Administration still didn't guard against him and let him come and go. Even his director's office was left intact. Knowing that Qingguang had finally returned to the bureau, Wu Miaowan, who stayed behind, ran over happily. She closed the office door and approached him with a smile. "Mr. Chrysanthemum, you're finally back. I thought you had abandoned me after using me." Qingguang put his hand on her shoulder to stop her from jumping on him. "Save it. I have business." Seeing his serious expression, Wu Miaowan stopped teasing him. Instead, she took his cup and made him a cup of his favorite bamboo green tea. Qingguang flipped over his desk. There was a thick stack of documents on it. It turned out to be the list of new martial arts beauties that he had just printed this morning. "I've already resigned. Why are you still giving me these things?" Wu Miaowan handed the cup to him. "This is my little sweetheart's idea. She said that you might want to come back at any time, so she put more things for you so that you can feel your presence when you come back." "What? Does she think that I'm still nostalgic for this little bit of power?" Yes. We all know that you're pursuing the highest realm of martial arts and the ultimate boundary of magic, my great magician Chrysanthemum. Good that you know. By the way, where is Xian Qin? Do you all know what I asked Dai Quan to tell you last time?" Qingguang rubbed the cup with his hand. When he thought about the mutated giant wolf, he still felt a little worried. In fact, for the past few days, although he didn't return to the police station due to his pride, he was very concerned about this matter. He also secretly told Xuelin that if there was any movement, she must report to him as soon as possible. In addition, he had secretly obtained the extremely high authority to access the National Public Security Information System through Wushan. If there were any strange cases, he would be the first to know. He did not want to stir up the righteous Wu Tong, so he deliberately avoided talking to her. Qingguang was very anxious. Even if he drained the earth elemental energy around him every 2 to 3 days, he could not stop the other types of elemental energy from becoming stronger along with the power of the Holy Grail. He knew that this matter was not over yet, but he could only watch helplessly. The cup was in his hand, and the power of the Holy Grail was constantly leaking out. It was useless to wrap it with more bags. Liuli still lived in the cup, and it contained the 3,000 worlds. As one of the 10 great artifacts of the endless divine realm, not even a Star Destroyer cannon could do anything to this cup. With his limited worldview and pitiful understanding of the endless divine realm, he could not imagine anything in this world that could break this cup. Of course, even if it really was broken, it might not be appropriate. According to Liuli, because he had activated the punishment realm twice, it was equivalent to poking a hole in the real universe. One of the 9 great special cups, the real world, was slowly merging with this universe with Earth as the boundary. Just one of the 3,000 worlds, the real world, could merge with the entire universe. Qingguang was really afraid that after breaking the cup, all the power in the Holy Grail would be instantly released, and his universe would be completely gone. This was completely possible. Then he would have to become an eternally wandering lonely soul in the infinite nothingness. Just thinking about that scene made him feel despair. He felt that he was really quite great. He was clearly still a college student, a cute undergraduate student, sitting here drinking bamboo leaf green, crossing his legs, shooting small movies and running a small company. In fact, he was worried about the world and the safety of the entire universe. Even I feel that it is very strange. Aliens far away in the endless starry sky, you have to thank me. There is such a great master of the 3,000 worlds who is so worried about the fate of the entire universe. Other people rule a country like cooking a small dish, but I save the universe like making a pancake. There was simply no point. He would be scolded as a retard if he told others about it. Others could not see his anxiety, and he had no way to tell anyone about it. In front of others, he could only selectively ignore those things that he could not think of a solution to, and act like everything was normal. He had no choice. He could not be so nervous that he trembled in a corner every day. That would be useless. It was meaningless for him to be anxious and angry. He could not be like Monkey Sun, who could pull a handful of hair from his thigh and throw it on the ground to make countless little Chen Guang appear, looking for mutated animals or mutants all over the world. He could only guard his own little territory and anxiously wait for the next news. If mutated monsters that ordinary people could not defeat really appeared, he would quickly think of a way to alert the Guangdong General Headquarters to respond. If the military could handle the situation, he would leave it to the military. If the military could not handle the situation, he would leave it to the inner force warriors. If everyone could not handle it, he would personally take action. But he had been waiting for almost a whole month and there was no news at all. It seemed that since the appearance of the mutated wolves last time, everything had returned to normal and nothing had changed. If not for the power of the Holy Grail drilling in his nostrils, he would almost think that he was hallucinating, so he decided to personally come to the station to ask. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.